applications.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we'll bring this meeting to order. Ms. Sanchez, the roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood?
Here.
Commissioner Brady?
Present.
Commissioner Glissman?
Here.
Commissioner McCarthy? Here. Commissioner Petrie?
Here.
Mayor Hain.
Here. We could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to Mr. Womack. Can you confirm what the life-saving award presentation is?
I guess I would defer that to Mr. Rodney Church.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Church? I'm sorry. Sorry, Chief Howell, I apologize.
That'll be great. Thank you, first of all, thank you for allowing me to do this. As I was reviewing this incident, I noticed the sheer number of people that were involved with this. Most of them are complete strangers to one another, but on February 2nd, 2026, they worked together as a team to save the life of Miss Jewel, who's here today, which is awesome. Come on up, Miss Jewel. So each person honored for this award has had previous CPR and AED training. However, training is much difficult than the actual real-life scenarios. Their quick thinking, training, and teamwork directly result in saving a life. I'm incredibly proud of the actions taken that day, and I commend them for their commitment to their fellow citizens. So there's 6 people that are involved. I'm just gonna rattle off names, and as you guys come up, just kind of stand up to the side. I'm gonna give you a certificate, okay? The first one is RN Karen Buchanan. She here? Awesome. This is yours.
Thank you.
So Karen was responsible for rendering aid with an AED and CPR. Hang tight. RN Breanne Weingartz. She's here. She rendered aid with the AED and CPR as well. City employee Lori Kolbeck. Awesome, thank you. She also started CPR and assisted with the AED. Our Parks Director, Rodney Church, who rendered aid with the AED. Good. DNR Conservation Officer, Jamie Salisbury, who assisted in doing CPR and using the AED as well. Thanks, buddy. And the last one is Trevor Johnson, one of our officers who couldn't make it today. He used the resuscitator bag valve mask on Miss Jewel. So as you can see, you hit the all-star team. We've got 2 RNs, a couple cops, some great city employees. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead and read this off, what their certificate actually says. So on February 2nd, 2026, at approximately 10:38, Lapeer County Central Dispatch received a medical call from Lapeer City Recreation Center for an unresponsive female on the track. DNR Officer Salisbury was in the area and responded to the scene with Officer Johnson shortly after. Lapeer Recreational Center employees Rodney Church and Lori Kolbeck were assisted by 2 members visiting the facility, RN Karen Buchanan and RN Breanne Weingartz, in rendering priority medical attention to the patient Jewel with an AED and CPR. DNR Officer Salisbury had taken over chest compressions after arriving on scene with Officer Johnson, utilizing a resuscitatory bag valve mask on Ms. Jewel until medical personnel from Lapeer County EMS were on location. Ms. Jewel was transported to Lapeer EMS to Lapeer Regional Hospital and was later transported to Royal Oak Beaumont Hospital. So awesome, congratulations guys, you guys did amazing, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Jeff, you want to take a couple, like a group?
Thank you, everybody. It does help, no matter if you know it or not.
The star of the show, right through the middle.
Okay. I do appreciate everybody. Thank you. Yeah. Even if you see somebody fall, help them, yell, scream. It does help.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
We'll wait for them to clear.
Still online.
Correct it, and so we don't have to do anything. I'm just saying, this is not something that you have to throw a red flag on.
Good. Is there any others that you saw?
That I saw. I have no idea. I did look to it.
Okay.
Did you?
All right.
So see, it says the 27th, right? Jeremy?
What's that?
27th here. Their thing is 27th also. So
Right.
actually, it's got both days.
Okay. We need some consistency. All right. All right. Now that the room is cleared out, we will resume the approval of April 20, 2026 agenda. We have a motion by Commissioner Petrie, support by Commissioner Glissman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the minutes. We have the minutes of the special meeting held April 6, 2026. Motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Brady.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Glissman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held April 6, 2026. Moved by Commissioner Glissman. Support by Commissioner McCarthy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Are we allowed to discuss?
Yes, we can discuss first. Commissioner Atwood?
Yes, I just wanted to bring something up to the Commission's attention. I noticed that the commentary of back and forth between me and the mayor is in there, which, that doesn't really bother me at all. I feel like if we're gonna allow commentary, it kind of goes back to what I said a few months ago, is we need to put the whole context of what transpired that got us to that vote or to this point. So I would appreciate it if the commission would consider putting the whole not the whole commentary, but a summary of, I think it's 80 and 81, which would be the Bodmin bill motions and discussion. Just some sort of summary between, you know, the debate or dialogue between the commission and the mayor, to include the whole context, again, not the whole context, but just a summary of what transpired or what got me to that point of why I said what I said.
Commissioner Carthy.
I just want to go back to when we've had this discussion on other things where I think it's unfair that this got in there because it kind of teased us up. And we've already had this discussion where it should just be the actions, none of the commentary, none of the, right? I mean, it's either the actions or no commentary, or if it's commentary, you gotta put the whole sink in. So I think that these should be revised to just be the actions and the outcomes and not commentary. No matter what the commentary is, I just think that it sets poorly. And if we've already made that, then it was unfair that this happened, because it should have just been the actions and the outcomes, you know, motions, actions, outcomes. Otherwise, we have to go back and revisit everything we've already decided in the past, where then you have to put in all the dialogue. And so I think you bring up a very fair point. It's either one or the other. You can't have it both ways. Some days it gets put in and some days it doesn't. That's my opinion.
I want to clarify for the clerk's sake. The clerk didn't make this decision. It was something that I directed to be included because I consider a threat very seriously, verbal or otherwise. Even though the context is that it wasn't meant in a fighting manner, I still take threats very seriously, even when they're verbal. So I directed that it be included. The context is the video, which is a point of record as well. I'm happy to understand from you, Mr. Atwood, what context you feel is missing from this. It's not commentary, it's verbatim from the video.
Well, the video is pretty self-explanatory. We had, and I don't want to labor this too long because it really doesn't bother me that it's in there. There is something that does need to be corrected if it stays when we get to that point. It's how I got to that point. You know, the whole thing was brought up and we're supposed to dialogue and debate here. And if I want the commission to get on my side, I have to have the opportunity to speak and show them why, how I felt the Bodmin bill was going, you know, why I was concerned. I felt like a lot of the meeting was controlled by Mr. Bray's point of order. You made him do research and figure out, you know, state his authority, which is actually falls upon you, which wasted a lot of our time deliberating up here. So I didn't feel like I had enough time to ask my questions. Then when it got to the failing of the motion, which is fine, that's how the commission voted. And then the next motion was made and there you had stopped the conversation because we were 38 minutes past with the agenda item, which you are allowed to do. I'm not debating that, but I was not at the prior meeting or the first meeting in March, so I was not able to ask my questions then either, which is no one's fault here. But I just felt like, you know, as a senior member, I should have been given more time to express my concern of this bill and the process, and that was kind of stripped away from me and taken away from me, so I was not able to have an appropriate dialogue. Again, that's when you brought up the other bills. It did kind of trigger me in a way where I could ask the staff the questions on those bills and they would be able to dialogue with me and tell me what those bills were. I understand attorney-client privilege, but I just felt like I could not ask any more questions at that time, so I didn't mean it, which I later clarified in the meeting. It wasn't a fight or meant to be a threat. It was, do you want to have basically a debate right here, right now about this topic? It was not meant to be a threat. In that moment, that's what came out. I've never said that before in my life to anyone, so. But I did not mean it in that matter, which these minutes does clarify that. If we are gonna keep it, I did not say that won't feel good for you. I said that won't go good for you after you said if I threatened you, then you had me removed.
Okay.
If you listen closely, you'll be able, you know, I did kind of mumble, it seemed like, or low tone, but to McCarthy's point, I do, I wouldn't want that to be, you know, it doesn't bother me, it's in there, I just don't want it to be used or the way it looks, to where someone can pick and choose, you know, what they want in the minutes, I guess. It's kind of a long explanation, but.
It is, and I think that maybe there's some dialogue we can have outside of the meeting to try to understand and articulate what it is that you would like included for the additional context. I can appreciate that. And I don't think we need to waste the time here inside the meeting for that. Is that agreeable?
Yeah, I don't want to labor it, you know.
Okay.
I just, yeah.
Okay.
I prefer it, you know, if it's gonna be in there, then it would have the whole, you know, how to, you know, why Commissioner Atwood feel that way, how to get to that point, you know. So the whole summary is in,
Yeah.
is in there.
Yeah. I'm sure there's context that you would appreciate to be in there. I feel strongly about including the narrative or the transcript, if you will, preserving it only because it was directed at me. And as I stated earlier, I take threats seriously, even if they're not physical. You stated that you've never made a claim like that or a statement like that to anybody else. It seems like it was out of character. But we do silly things when our emotions get the best of us. And we don't take that time between a stimulus and our response, and we immediately go to something frustrating or anger-driven, emotional-driven, and that's what I'm afraid of. And those are the types of things that I take serious. There's a lot of people who end up in very unseemly situations of regret and stand before judges and juries, and they say they've never done that before, it's out of character and that sort of stuff. So that's why, for my protection, I feel I need to preserve that. But I'm happy to work with you on context so that you feel more comfortable and correcting that word from feel to go. Okay? We'll do that. Would a motion to postpone approval of the minutes in lieu of working with the clerk to address your context concerns be acceptable for you for tonight?
Well, I just don't understand why we had a 5-hour meeting and that specific portion has to be in there.
Yeah, that's back to my explanation of why I take it very seriously.
Well, I also take it very seriously, like when you're questioning, you know, how did we get to that point? How did I get to that point? It wasn't, I was just automatically there. Something had to have happened to trigger that response.
It seems
And
that,
again, I didn't mean it, and I've never been in a fight before in my life,
Yeah.
so everyone in the room knew I wasn't gonna
yeah,
jump up and.
I understand. I think we're back to trying to rationalize and reason through our decision right now. I think postponement and working together outside of the meeting would be best suited, rather than holding the
Well,
meeting up.
I would
that work?
refer this to the commission because the commission can decide on what to do here.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Mayor?
you want to do it now rather than, because,
No, I mean, we don't need to wait or postpone it.
okay, because it sounds like we want some adjustment to it. I feel strongly about keeping it, but we need some adjustment. If we need the adjustment, then we need to postpone or approve with direction to add the clarifying context. But how do we approve the clarifying context? Because to me, it sounds like the clarifying context you want is to excuse the behavior. You want some additional context in front to get to a point where, look, I'm not responsible for my behavior. All those events leading up to when I did that are responsible.
Mr. Mayor.
Like I said, I don't care that it's in there. What I'm saying is, and I'm not saying weaponizing minutes, but the way that it looks is you're picking and choosing what commentary you want in the minutes, which is why I said months ago that we can't pick and choose what we want in it. We have some dialogue, which I absolutely don't mind, because it shows how we got to that specific item, how we got to that vote. If we're gonna have my quote in there, which again, I don't care that I said it, you can watch the minutes, but how did we get to that point? Needs to be in there if it's going to be in there.
Yeah, and I'm willing to work with you on some of that
Mr.
outside
Mayor.
of the meeting, I think, is what we could do. Mr. Brady?
I don't want, sorry.
I support Commissioner McCarthy's. I believe it was stated in a way that could have been taken as an amendment to the minutes. Essentially, hopefully, just striking all of the commentary. And I would seek that based on, I'm not sure what authority the chair has to put any direct dialogue into the minutes. That the board voted that we weren't going to do that. I don't know that the chair is the person who gets to pick what those words are. So unless you can show me where that authority is specifically yours, how come the board doesn't get to decide what lands in the minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Mr. Francis, I do believe that this falls under Robert's rules. We might have a provision inside of our board procedures, policy and procedures. If we do, then that's your territory. I'd like you to pull that up.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. It's A10F of your policies and procedures. The clerk shall not be responsible for a written record or summary of discussion or comments of the commission. Upon direction of the presiding officer, the clerk may provide a summary of individual comments. I believe that's...
Yep. Which I do believe is a clarifying summary of something that's already inside Robert's rules as well. So it's backed by two authorities.
If I may,
Yeah.
the vote is still the commission's.
Yes,
The question.
that's correct.
The proposal is.
But the
before.
question from Mr. Brady is, do I have the authority to direct such a inclusion? And I think it's very clear that I do. So, all right. Ms. McCarthy.
Is it possible to move this on, because it looks like it's a short agenda today?
Yep.
And I know we all would like that. Is it possible that we vote to either, do a sub-motion that's basically saying, do we vote to approve it with it included, or do we vote to take it out? And I understand perfectly why you would want it in there. I also understand we've already beat this to death in the past, beat it to death, and fairly enough, Commissioner Brady didn't get his way. Everything got taken out. He was in the same situation. I'd like clarity on why I got to this position. I'd like to explain myself and think the minutes, and he didn't get that. So I think that, I get that it's a threat, et cetera, but I think a motion. Do we keep it in? Do we approve the minutes without it? And we move forward so that we can move on to the next thing, which is like 72 different event forms. Just me,
Yeah, I completely understand. And, Ms. McCarthy, to be fair, the reason that we took them out when Mr. Brady wanted them in was because of the nature of the commentary, which was insinuative in addressing character and motives. This doesn't do any of that. It just documents what is already on public record with the video. So,
Mr. Mayor.
anyhow, and that's my decision to ask the clerk or direct the clerk to put that in. So where we're at is a vote.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Petrie.
I just vaguely remember during the meeting when the words were said, you said to Ramona at that time, please include these in here, if I'm remembering it correctly. And so, why not postpone and then you two work together with Ramona? I think that's a great compromise so that the record is
I agree.
what you both need it to be.
Yeah. Mr. Brady.
I think the reason that we got there was because the chair had stated, I'm sure you don't know anything about any of those items in any detail that you're asking for here. And so I believe that you were insinuating against Commissioner Atwood's motives, and that was the reason that he said that. So there's like a lot of crossover, but I really don't want to litigate it. I make a motion to amend
We have a
the
motion.
approval of the minutes
We have a motion.
to include, Mr. Mayor, to include only the action items and not to include any commentary for 80 and 81. If anybody wants to support that.
We have a motion on the table right now, so we'd have to either revise the motion with a friendly revise, or we would have to withdraw the motion, and then we can do a new motion. Ms. McCarthy?
Can Mr. Brady then do a friendly, can he do a friendly?
Amendment.
Friendly what?
Amendment.
Thank you. I takes the ability, friendly amendment.
Who was the motion maker on this one?
Commissioner Glissman.
Okay. Commissioner Glissman would be the one to do that. And is that something that you want to do? To do a friendly amendment, or a friendly amendment to the motion to one of the options that have been presented to us?
And the amendment would just be for these minutes, and we don't have to go into dialogue for future meetings. But I would amend the motion to strike commentary from the minutes.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Glissman, support by Commissioner Brady to strike commentary. Wait, were you the support on the last one?
No.
All right, same support. Commissioner Glissman, whoever supported it the first time.
I mean, look, she supported.
The friendly
And I'll
amendment.
support it the second time if that's what I need to do.
Yep.
Sorry, we're feeling around the dark here.
To strike the commentary from the minutes.
Of April.
Is that to approve or postpone? Or
To
approve?
approve.
with-
To approve.
Okay.
Mhm.
April 6th, 2026, regular meeting. Are you all set?
Yep.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. That brings us to public comments. Each member of the public will have an opportunity to speak. We'll remind each speaker that we have a 3-minute time limit, and that a timer will be running. Once you hear the timer, your turn is over. We ask that you would please return to your seat. When you come up to the podium, if you would please state your name for the record. Anybody who wants to, right here.
Good evening, my name is Tona Osco. I live in Attica on Lake Pleasant. As I have done for the past meetings that I could be here, I'm hoping to open in prayer, and I hope that everyone joins me, and if you don't, I understand that you don't. Heavenly Father, so thankful for the day, for the time that we have to gather together here to try to further your plans and ideals for this city, this country, all of the people that have had the forethought to give us this opportunity before us. Forgive us of our sins, help us to be focused on you, help us to be mindful of the things that you want and need. It's in your Son's precious name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? In the back.
Greetings from the county. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak at your meeting. I have 3 things. We approved the senior millage for the August primary. We renewed the alcohol monitoring system agreement for 3 years. And I believe, Mr. Atwood, you had a big to-do with the resolutions passed. I don't know if it was at your last meeting or at the meeting in March, but the House bills opposing the housing bills, and then I always butcher the name of it, but the Crotum. Yep, thank you. We will be referring those to our Policies and Procedures Committee, so that we will be voting on those hopefully in May. And then with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I have the flyers for the household hazardous waste that I'd like to give to you for you
Yes.
and the commission.
Do you know the
Thank
date
you.
on that, Bryce?
Yeah, it's May 30th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
Bernadette Treese, City of Lapeer. Following the last commission meeting and hearing the public comments following the meeting, I would like to add my thoughts. I'm embarrassed and I'm upset about many things. I have seen much contention over the issue of hiring an outside attorney firm to look into what? Some commissioners were very opposed to this and still to this day are unaware of the results of these meetings, phone calls, or whatever has taken place. I, for one, if seated on the commission, would be opposed to agreeing to the hiring of an outside firm, spending the city's money for something the commissioners and the public are unaware of. I've heard it explained as an attorney-client privilege and therefore cannot be disclosed. But shouldn't our elected officials be informed of what is happening? I'm also embarrassed by the way some people have been treated. Here I will reference the March 16th meeting where Mayor Hing failed to appoint Mr. Mike Womack to the Planning Commission, but later in the meeting ordered him to attend these meetings. At the time this occurred, I was very embarrassed for Mr. Womack and felt many people's discomfort in the manner that this was handled. Another incident from the same meeting was when Commissioner Petrie addressed the appointment, or lack thereof, of Mr. Jeff Hogan to the Zoning Board of Appeals, claiming a conflict of interest because he was the editor for our paper. I have never read anything that Mr. Hogan has written that was biased in any way. Mr. Hogan had been on this board previously, and from my understanding was the chair of this board, and there was never an issue, but all of a sudden, it now is. At the last meeting of the commissioners, Mayor Hing asked why people are still bringing this issue up. Well, the answer would be that they felt this was another slight to a member of our community that has given of his time to be willing to serve on boards within our city. At the April 6th meeting, Mayor Hing consistently called out Commissioner Brady to cite the authority before agreeing to sustain his point of order, extending the discussion time well past the 30 minutes allowed for any agenda item. Later in the meeting, Mayor Hing failed to reappoint Commissioner Brady to the Park Board, stating that he could not in good conscience make this appointment, calling out the character of Mr. Brady. These issues, in my opinion, were embarrassing to him and appeared to be a reprimand to him because of his questions during the meetings. However, they were a bit excessive. With all of this, why would anyone want to volunteer to serve on any boards within our city? These issues and the significant discord had Commissioner Atwood suggesting taking advantage of a workshop offered through the MML, which was not accepted or acted upon. Perhaps Mayor Hing needs to be reminded that the city of
Thank you. Anyone else?
Wesley Weber, a City of Lapeer resident. I was able to look at the Brownfield plan, the Act 381 plan that was passed or forwarded to the commission last Tuesday night. In the plan, all the numbers are there for the Brookwood development. Ellen Edwin is promising to invest $35.2 million into the city of Lapeer. It's their capital investment, includes everything. This is what they will spend on infrastructure, pipes, roads, all of it, everything. This means that if they, there's a couple scenarios. If they were assuming all of the risk and building 112 homes, and they were selling them on average for $375, which is the average selling price they mentioned last November, then they would make about $6.8 million without any subsidies on the build. If you just take their capital investment, divide that by 112, you see the price at their home build price. and then you look at their sale price of $375, it's about a 19.3% gross profit. The National Home Builders Association, in their latest cost of doing business study from 2025, puts the average home builder gross profit nationally at 20.7%. So that means Allen Edwin, without any subsidies, is already in a profitability margin that is at national average, just about, a little bit below it. If they build 112 homes with subsidies, they would start with the same $35.2 million capital investment, and over the next 30 years, according to the Brownfield plan, they would capture the tax increments on all of those properties for the next 30 years, reimbursing to them $16.48 million, which means that all of the taxes for our schools and our fire and our city, or whatever taxes are part of our millage, but primarily the state education tax and school taxes, which are the majority of our millage, are going back to the developer. It means that their effective capital investment then is $18.7 million, which means that instead of making $6.8 million on the bill, they would make $23.3 million for 67% gross profit margin. So that's what's before you. And here's the thing, it puts our city at a disadvantage because the program exists. The municipality here is in the disadvantage because if we say no, there's lots of cities that will say yes. So we want the homes. And now the home builder has the leverage over us just because the program exists. It seems that, again, an unintended consequence for such programs to spur home building, I'm against it because it's taking an already profitable developer and it's increasing their profit margin by 300%. From 19.3% to 66.7% gross profit. So I just think there's got to be other ways that we.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others wish to speak?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Leroy. I live in Mayfield Township, but I have an office in the city. I come to the city often with my friends and family. I shop in the city. I'd just like to say a few things. First of all, where is it? I oppose the changes to the Genesee Street that I believe are proposed to go along with some bridge reconstruction. I don't think it's a good use of money. I don't want the roadway to change. I think it's going to cause problems. I think if we reduce it to one lane going westbound, it's going to back up traffic as we go to that light, which is the intersection of M21 and M24, one of the biggest intersections in our city. I also would like to second Wes's comments. I oppose that Brookwood development. I don't think it's a good deal for the city, as he stated. The city loses tax money, but is still liable for all the services. And I believe their plan to rent it out. I don't want to see more rental properties in the city. I want to bring people and families to the city that have more permanent ties to the city. I'd also like to say that another member of the public made comments about Mayor Hing's appointments or lack thereof. But that's the job of the mayor, and the mayor gets to appoint who they see fit. No one's owed an appointment, and the people of the city of Lapeer voted Mayor Hing to do this job, and so he's doing it. And so I just want to say I approve of his decisions there. So with that said, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? All right. Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Mr. Brady.
I would seek to remove C3 from the consent agenda, car cruise.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to make that item G3?
Do we have room for that? Okay. Yep, G3. All right. Moving that to item G3, and then
Remove from consent.
from consent, yeah.
Onto the
And
record for discussion.
Mr. Womack suggested G3 for that item. So,
We need a motion for the others.
yeah, we're gonna need the motion for that. And then also, there is a question on number 11 before we go ahead with that motion. Mr. Womack, on item 11 in the consent, maybe it's just a typo at the consent, but it says July 28th, but the application says July 27th. Are we going by the application, or are we going by what's on the consent agenda?
You have to vote instead.
Mr. Mayor, my assumption would be that based upon the event application that was submitted, it says the 28th.
And the 27th on page 2. It has
Say
both,
that?
it has both dates.
Yeah, so the pavilion's rented for the 28th. So my assumption would be that because they rent it on the 28th, that they're, Mr. Church, do you know if that's accurate? You're looking at it for me.
If they have the receipt on there, then that's legit.
Mr. Mayor? I mean, if I may, I was just thumbing through this. Their application indicates the last Tuesday of July annually, which would be the 28th.
Okay. All right. Then, Mr. Brady, did you form your request as a motion so that we can get a support?
That's not necessary.
All right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, are you asking for a motion to approve the consent with the removal? Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
I'm just asking that it be removed.
All right. Can I get a motion for the consent with the amendment or the adjustment to move number 3 to G3?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as is with removal of item C3, move to G3 to be discussed later in the meeting.
Support.
All right. Motion by Commissioner McCarthy, support by Commissioner Glissman to approve the consent agenda as is with the move of G3 or C3 to G3 in the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the bill listing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to approve the bill listing for April 20th, 2026 in the amount of $395,083.89.
Support.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Glissman, support by Commissioner Atwood to approve the bill listing for April 20th, 2026 in the amount of $395,083.89. We'll take a roll call.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Glissman?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie?
Yes.
Motion carries. That brings us to proclamations, recognitions, and resolutions. The first we have up is the proclamation of Jason Minor, which, Mr. Howe, are you ready for that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I won't take much of your time. I know we have a proclamation that's going to be read, and I don't want to be redundant, and it's a well-written proclamation. I just want to say a couple things. Sergeant Minor has been with the city for 25 years, and he's had an absolutely stellar career. Some of his most notable work came when he worked undercover with TNU. That's the narcotics unit. The cases he put together directly reduced the amount of drugs in our community. He was involved in some great cases that put many dealers out of business all across the Thumb area, all the way up from Tuscola to Sanilac County, Lapeer County. Recently, he was awarded the Bravery Award, which he has been the only recipient in the history of our police department to receive. Sergeant Minor risked his life by jumping into a river for a submerged vehicle that was upside down in zero visibility in order to get a mother and her 2 children out of that vehicle. An act that very few people on this planet can do, and we were lucky to have him here in Lapeer. Sergeant Minor's leadership, courage, unwavering dedication to this community will be sorely missed. I personally wish him nothing but the best for him and his family as he enters retirement from law enforcement. Sergeant Minor and his family will forever be our family to the City of Lapeer Police Department. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Howell. And with that, I will read the proclamation in recognition of Sergeant Jason Miner. Whereas Officer Jason Miner officially began his career with the City of Lapeer Police Department on April 9th, 2001 as a patrolman, he rose through the ranks, serving as Patrolman 1 in 2006, Patrolman 2 in 2011, Patrolman 3 in 2016, Sergeant 2 in 2020, and Sergeant 3 in 2021. And whereas Sergeant Miner, while performing his duties in service to the citizens of the City of Lapeer, received the Lapeer City Police Award for Bravery in 2025 for putting himself in peril while removing occupants from an overturned vehicle underwater. He also received 2 Meritorious Service Awards in 2002 for stopping a fire from spreading in an apartment complex, saving lives and property, and the second in 2006 for apprehending subjects involved in a crime ring that was stealing snowmobiles. Additionally, he earned 2 Officer of the Year awards, 3 departmental commendations, a life-saving citation award, and 5 Mothers Against Drunk Driving awards for his efforts to remove drunk drivers from the roadway. These recognitions include formal supervisory commendations, all while safeguarding lives and protecting the innocent in the City of Lapeer. Whereas Sergeant Miner has devoted his time and effort to training and education, which includes graduating from Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command in 2002. He was trained in barricaded gunmen active shooter training, emergency management, forensic science training, advanced narcotics training, terrorism and bomb recognition, and numerous other in-service training sessions. And whereas Sergeant Miner has a broad range of skills, including his detective assignment to the Thumb Narcotic Unit from 2006 to 2009, and again from 2013 to 2015, he earned his TNU nickname of Recon. Sergeant Miner brought expertise in police administration along with a wealth of experience from proudly serving this community for over 25 years. And whereas Sergeant Miner will retire on April 28, 2026, after giving conscientious, responsible, and professional service to the citizens of the City of Lapeer, leaving those in the city proud to have known him and served alongside of him. Therefore, let it be known that I, Mayor Jeremy Hing, alongside with the Lapeer City Commission, wish to honor and express deep appreciation for Sergeant Jason Miner for his dedication and devotion to public service, and we wish him continued success in his retirement. No. Let me take one more thing on mine.
Take his family.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
They did very well.
Go ahead. Thank you. That brings us to one more proclamation, the 2026 Arbor Day Proclamation.
Mr. Mayor, can you have a motion to
Yes.
adopt the other one?
Yep.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Brady.
I make a motion to adopt the proclamation in recognition of Jason Miner as presented.
Support. Motion by Mr. Brady, Commissioner Brady, support by Commissioner Atwood to adopt the 2026 Arbor Day proclamation as presented.
No,
Or,
it's Jason.
I'm sorry,
Minor.
adopt the proclamation in recognition of Jason Minor as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll do this one. Madam Clerk, did we just do that in reverse order? Should we do the motion first and then the proclamation, or the proclamation?
You can do it either way.
I think the proclamation, will read it first. That way, once it's read, we know what we're approving or voting on. Okay, there we go. This is the City of Lapeer Arbor Day proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Jeremy Hing, Mayor of the City of Lapeer, and the Lapeer City Commission do hereby declare Thursday, April 23rd, 2026 as Arbor Day in the City of Lapeer, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we adopt the 2026 Arbor Day proclamation as read.
Motion by Commissioner Glissman, support by Commissioner Petrie to adopt the 2026 Arbor Day proclamation as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to administrative reports. We'll start with the Youth Mini Grant Fund. Commissioner Petrie.
I move that we approve the closing the youth mini grant fund into the park fund and the budget amendment as presented.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Petrie, second by Commissioner McCarthy to approve the closing the Youth Mini Grant Fund into the Park Fund and the budget amendment as presented. Roll call, or any discussion first?
Yes, if I could just ask Kelly just to give a brief summary of why.
Yep, that'd be
So
great.
the public knows.
This money was donated to the city approximately 15 years ago to be used for the park, for scholarships, and the money has not been used since it was donated. The donated amount was $500, so it was rather low. And since it hasn't been used, I am proposing that the money be moved to the park fund and for Mr. Church to use those to support programs for the community.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Questions? All right, we'll go to roll call.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Glissman?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie?
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Motion carries. That brings us to the second reading, Ordinance 2026-3, zoning text amendment, Chapter 7, Article 7-4, and Article 7-13. Is there a motion? Commissioner McCarthy.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-03 on second reading, amending Chapter 7, Article 4, multiple family residential districts, and Chapter 7, Article 8, use requirements to permit attached single-family residential dwelling units by right in the RM1 and RM2 multiple family residential zoning districts.
Okay.
Article 13.
Article 13.
Article 13. I read it wrong. I was doing a V and an X. Do I have to reread it? Thank you.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
All right. Motion by Commissioner McCarthy and support by Commissioner Atwood to adopt the ordinance 2026-3. We'll take a roll call.
Commissioner?
Oh, you have questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
That's why I did the motion to get us here. So my understanding is this is a, it's amendment. And my question is, and I see it was approved by the planning, let me just go to this to G2, it was approved by planning. But we don't have the red line in here, so I don't necessarily see it's being changed from what to what. That's an issue for me, I like reading the red line, sorry, I'm like that. I like to compare so I know what we're Xing out to what we're putting in. So I have a little bit of difficulty on the front face of this doing that. My second issue is, and I'll just kind of get them out there, so then everybody else can raise their hands and do whatever. So some of the things is that this says by right. And it says that the units by right in the RM1 and RM2. And I just need clarity, and I'll wait until I get these all done, and then I'll ask the city attorney perhaps if he can do that. But my understanding is by right means that it may have that possibility that it does not have to go through planning and zoning, and so that it, by right, it would just be pre-approved to kind of speed up the process. Got a little bit of concern with that. It also says that for special use on the form, and it does say that the SLU, special land use, would need a special permit, obtaining special land use, but it would be boarding and renting rooms within residences and then transitional housing. So I just would like clarity on what that looks like, and those were my issues with this before I move forward. But really, the bigger thing is, I'm not seeing the red line to see where did we come from to how we got here.
Mr. Mayor, may I address those questions?
Yes, please.
So I'm looking at page 105 of the packet online, and it is redlined. So I don't know if maybe you just got a black and white copy. So
Page 105?
page 105 of the PDF on the packet. So this wasn't crossing anything out, and maybe that's why if it's only black and white, you didn't see it. What this ordinance is proposing to do is add the section in the table called single-family attached dwellings as permitted, along with requirements on the right-hand side. And then the use section 7-13.01G, single-family attached dwellings, that section is new, nothing else is new. And what this is effectively accomplishing is, as you guys will recall from the previous discussion on this, the city is an RRC certified community, and part of that is we have to do some updates every couple of years. And we already had 2 of the proposed updates. This is the 3rd, and we're required to have 3. This only applies to the multifamily zoning districts, of which the city has very few, and they're very small. And essentially what a single-family attached dwelling is, I like to think of like townhouses. So they share walls, but they're otherwise single-family. They'll have a front yard, backyard. They often have a garage at the ground level. So, you know, to keep our RRC certification, the Planning Commission, working along with their planning consultant, identified this as the least intrusive addition we could add. So that's kind of what's being accomplished here.
Yes, Ms. McCarthy.
Just for clarity, usually I get in my package, I get all of that. I don't really go online, so it's not included in the printed, and I get why. Please don't give me the eye.
No, I
Because
just
it's a lot of printing. It's a lot of printing, I get it, so it's my mistake.
Well, it's partially our fault because we don't have a color printer.
Yeah, but I still see the red line, but that's okay. I get it. It was probably, if you said it was 105 pages, this would have been a widowmaker when you sent it to me. It would have been like huge, so I get it. Thank you, it was my error.
Something we could do, Mr. Mayor, something we could do is maybe we could highlight it, so even though it wouldn't be highlighted in color, it would still be highlighted in a gray color. So that can maybe identify the non-colored issues. I'll work with staff to identify a way to make that better.
It's just, it wasn't included in this printed, and I didn't go online. That's why it wasn't printed. But my first question was, or my one issue was by right. Just if that really just means it bypasses planning and zoning. I mean, I'm just.
Sure.
Can someone give me that?
If I could address that.
Yes.
So by right does not mean that it skips the planning commission. By right means it still has to go to the planning commission, it's just not a special land use. A special land use is the abnormal one, not the by right. Special land use then has this whole other section that the proposed use has to meet, and it generally is things like, does it have appropriate access to a road? Does it have appropriate access to the utilities? Is it, gonna be adjacent to a different type of use in which the proposed special land use would be kind of causing problems for the existing uses? So as a proposed by right use, the expectation is that these would very clearly fit within the multifamily zoning districts.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question for Mike. When I looked it up by right too, it does say that it's meant to remove the ability for planning commission to negotiate infrastructure upgrades. For example, sewers, wider roads, on a case-by-case basis. So what you're saying is they're still gonna have to come to planning, tell us how they want it to look, and that it meets our criteria as far as heights, and they still have to do that, come to our planning.
Yes.
But we just can't put limits on, like the way we can other things, because it's by right.
No, you still can. Yeah, I think there's, so if you were to change the exterior facade, what it's gotta look like, they would still have to meet the exterior facade requirements, even though it's permitted by right. So it's the use that's permitted by right, not what the outside looks like. You could also change the landscaping requirements. You could change the number of driveways being required. So there's a million things that you could do, but that would be a separate ordinance change. Really what we're just talking about is, can you put attached single-family homes next to each other? I think everything up is still, I don't want to say negotiable, but could be worked on through ordinance changes through the planning commission and city commission.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Is this one, remember the gentleman who come in and he had the quads and the and the duplexes? Would this be something that would impact that?
In a multifamily zoning district, those would be permitted by right if they could meet the 713.01G requirements.
But would that be kind of that application where he was putting in quads and duplexes?
Yes,
Thank you.
I think of it more as townhouses, but yeah, that would be a permissible use, I think.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Brady.
But not to exceed 4 dwellings, so duplexes up to quads, but not a whole apartment complex, not like a 10-unit, just a quad.
So you could have quads, like you were saying, but you couldn't have fifths?
Quints?
Six? Quints, yeah, thank you. I forgot my Latin for a second. Latin, right, not Greek. But there's also like a separation requirement of 50 feet between the end units to the next unit. I don't know, I think it's spaced out pretty good. I think the density is pretty good.
Any other discussion? All right. Go ahead.
Do we know if this is wise to do this change before we do our master plan, or is it irrelevant? I mean, we're in the process of doing our master plan, and so I'm wondering, should we be waiting on this till that master plan is going, or do we have a time limit that we have to meet this change? Do we have for our
I honestly don't know when I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, could I press that?
Yes, please.
I honestly don't know when the RRC requirements are required by, but I don't see this as really impacting the overall master plan. I think it's a smart change regardless of whether the RRC was going to require it or not, and I think it's got minimal impact on the city overall. Could we wait? Probably. We can go back to the planner, the RRC contact, and see what they have to say about a timing. But I don't see any issues with moving forward on it, but it's the will of the council.
So one question then, if we go ahead and move forward on this and then we do the master plan and for some reason this doesn't fit in, can we delete this?
Yeah, any ordinance can be deleted by another ordinance. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right. Any other discussion?
I just have a question for Mr. Womack. I like to go into new build neighborhoods and check them out, but I don't usually take a measuring device. So I want to be comfortable with the 100 feet facade to facade, because there's some neighborhoods that I've noticed down in Macomb County where they're putting them what I call elbow to elbow and nose to nose, and it's just claustrophobic when you go down those streets. So I want to know if you feel that that 100-foot distance is sufficient enough so that people feel like their environment is not claustrophobic or cramped.
So, Mr. Mayor, may I first say?
Yes.
So a traditional road is 66 foot, Mr. Slusher, is that correct? 66 foot wide, so that would mean that between the two front setbacks, you'd be, what, 34 foot, you'd need 17 foot on, between the road and the front facade. It's a little small, usually you're gonna see 20 to 25 foot, but I don't think it's not unnecessarily cramped. If you go through some of the existing neighborhoods that we already have, where some of these quadplexes are being built, they're a little tight, but for what I see as the primary purpose and use of these types of places, which is minimal outdoor, like condo living, like you've got a crew come in and take care of your lawn for you, which is very senior friendly. You know, you don't want to have huge expansive lawns in that circumstance. So I personally don't think it's a problem, but I understand that we certainly do want to, probably in the master plan process, take a look at what our single family lot size requirements are. Because, you know, I met with a developer today who said that they'd love to put more like $1 million homes in this area, but they'd like to have bigger yards for those, obviously. So if we're gonna start looking at maybe more luxury type homes, maybe we need to accommodate those in a separate section. But as far as this is concerned, I think it's appropriate.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right. We'll take roll call.
Commissioner Glissman?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes. Motion carries. That brings us to G3. Which is to revisit special event, Lapeer Downtown Development Authority, Lapeer Car Cruise.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Brady.
I make a motion to approve the special event for Lapeer Downtown Development Authority, Lapeer Car Cruise, with the dates listed from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. downtown Lapeer, and to authorize staff to work with them to discuss the location during construction.
Support.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Brady, support by Commissioner Atwood to approve the Lapeer Car Cruise for the dates and times listed, and to authorize staff to work with the event organizers to coordinate location during the construction.
Mr. Mayor?
Discussion.
Mr.
Yep.
Alt is in the audience if you guys might have questions for him.
Okay.
He is the event organizer.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Alt? Commissioner Petrie.
I'm just wondering, when I got the email, what the issue is that we have to change.
So I'll take a stab at it, but we also have Mr. O'Meara in the audience who wrote that email. The way it was presented to us in the map is it looks, so there's two options. There's the first option, which we're a little concerned that in past practice, people have been pushed past Nipissing to kind of go across Park Street and utilize the rear parking area. That whole area is going to be under construction. So a recommendation was, if that was the option that the city was going to choose, that we put up some additional signage saying, hey, don't go past here, go this way instead. I don't see that as a huge issue, just an additional signage issue. The other option B, I think it was, showed that Pine Street, north and south of Nipissing, was going to be utilized for parking purposes. Pine Street is currently heavily under construction, and if it's not available at that date, that would not work. I spoke with Mr. Alt earlier today. He's obviously flexible about how it's going to be set up. He had to present something on paper. So of course, I see Mr. Alt usually on a daily basis, so I'm sure we can figure something out.
And then will we get to know what to direct people if they're like, where are you gonna have it, or where we're supposed to park, or whatever? Will we be informed when you guys come to that? decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a week ahead of time that we would have a final decision based on where the construction was at. And, you know, we can keep the commission and the public informed about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? All right. Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to H1. Mr. Womack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is something that both Mr. O'Meara and I had concerns about following the last meeting. We talked about the Genesee Street pedestrian safety crossing safety island, that's a mouthful, on a couple of occasions. And, you know, I think I've seen some generalized support, but also some general opposition to it. Our concern has come to a head, though, because Mr. O'Meara is proposing putting in some significant work to apply for a grant, which could help pay for this safety island. And MDOT does not look favorably upon requesting grant monies, being approved grant monies, and then not spending that on what was proposed. So we just want to have a little discussion right now to see if we've got support to actually do this or not, because I don't want Mr. O'Meara to put in the time and effort to get a grant, which then would not be used. And I could foresee MDOT then not awarding us any grant money in the near future if we did that. MDOT has been fairly generous to us over the last couple of years, in no small part because of Mr. O'Meara's work. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, is some discussion and support, one way or the other, about whether we want to do this or not.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Commissioner Petrie.
I have a question for Mr. O'Meara.
Please.
The grant, at least in our packet, it's listing Nipissing Street and Court Street pedestrian crossing, also Nipissing Street and Saginaw Street. So can we apply for the grant for those two items?
Yes, we're actually already working on that. I didn't hear any opposition to those ideas, but it was the island in particular that we were concerned about.
So we can still apply for this grant,
Yeah.
it would just be for this, the amount of the.
Commissioner Brady.
Yeah, the opposition that I've heard has, it seems like it goes all the way back to, are we gonna make this a 3-lane road? And aside from like an action addressing the previous vote of the commission, I think we need to be under the assumption that we've already decided it's going to be a 3-lane road. And the appropriate way to do that would be to have somebody who voted in favor ask to bring that back before the commission. If that's like really the sticking point, is we don't even want that to be a 3-lane road, we gotta have that discussion and get that settled before we are nitpicking about whether there's gonna be a crosswalk or not. So that's my piece.
Commissioner McCarthy.
So I went and I pulled what I could find, I don't know, and someone says, it's been approved. So I looked that, in April of, I think it was 2025, there was a motion to approve the contract with Road Professional Service for pedestrian crossing study. That's not approval of the diet. And then in August of 2025, there was a motion to authorize staff to pursue Genesee Street Road diet and pedestrian crossing design work, but it does not say that it's an approval of the diet. And so my question would be, do we have on file where the vote was actually made for the approval of the diet? I didn't find it, but that, you know, I'm digging through stuff. So my question would be, where is it? What meeting did that happen where the actual diet was approved as a done deal versus there was favor kind of to get a grant or to get a cross study and to get design work done, kind of feasibility. I would say that's kind of feasibility stuff.
I wasn't prepared to answer that tonight. I didn't know that was up for the questioning. My understanding was that the 3-lane configuration was approved in the past.
I just don't find, and it could be on there, I'm just not finding it. And Mr. Brady is already on it, he's a whiz on this thing, and he is going to pull it up, and he's going, aha, here it is, I got you moment. And that's great, because I totally agree with what he said. Find out who approved it, bring it back up, and put it to bed. Is it gonna happen or is it not? I'm totally with you.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure that that there would be a formal approval other than the design contract, which was, like, I don't know that we ever get to a point, we put it in the budget, that's essentially approved when we put it in the budget, and then we start spending that money bit by bit. So I guess we could go back and see if in the budget, of that year was approved. That would be, you know, I don't know if there's ever a box that we just, yep, for sure, we're gonna do that.
Well,
Mr. Wood? Did you have a, raise your hand?
I did not.
Okay.
I was removing my flash.
Okay.
I'm not raising my hand.
All right, very good.
We almost put
You
you in for a
can.
bid for $1 million.
I know, I saw that.
I guess I'm gonna revisit why, the 3-lane highway, or 3-lane road diet seems to be, like, were we doing it because of this pedestrian crossing, and we think having 3 lanes will be better for this pedestrian crossing, or we're redoing the bridge, it's not been done in 100 years, so we're redoing it, and I'm not clear why we're narrowing that space while we're rebuilding the bridge. It seems like we're not gonna revisit that bridge for another 100 years, I hope. Why would we want more congestion there? I'm not an engineer, so looking at the map, especially with that island there and the ambulance garage, I'm looking at Bentley Street, people trying to make a left onto Genesee. I don't see how it would be possible, especially with the island there. But somebody said at the last meeting that Oxford did it and put the islands in there, and it's great. But you can see from the beginning of Oxford almost to Lake Orion, it's pretty straight, no hills. This particular area that we're doing, we have a hill with momentum coming down Calhoun. We have a hill coming down Monroe with tremendous momentum. We have a hill coming over Genesee. And so my thoughts, or what I thought I heard was, if we do a 3-lane, take this down from a 5-lane to a 3-lane, it'll slow the traffic down. And I'm thinking it's gonna cause such congestion, especially when there's a train coming, the left-hand turn. I don't see, I'm not an engineer, so I'm not understanding it, and looking at it with my naked eye, I'm like, we got an ambulance garage that you don't plan for an ambulance coming out of there. I feel like this is gonna congest that area tremendously, and I'm not quite sure why we wanna do it to that area. I'm not convinced as to why we're doing that. I know that we're putting the bridge in, and they're like, while we're doing the bridge, let's do a road diet. I don't really see the benefit in congesting that area. Just from living here my whole life, what it would do for me, and already does because of the congestion, I skip that downtown area totally, and I go Saginaw around to Turl Road to get on the expressway, or head south, or if I'm coming back that way and there's congestion, I'll go the boulevard over DeMille and go that way. So now we're gonna miss downtown traffic if we congest this. That's my opinion.
Commissioner Ray?
My understanding of going down to 3 lanes is that you put everybody in a line. Crossing there, the main trouble that you have is, okay, I can wait for a car to come. So you see this right out in front of my house when we were crossing. I could be waiting to cross the street, and a car could be stopping in that lane. But because there's another lane, people are just gonna go right past. So I can't count on a predictable traffic pattern. I've got 2 lanes to contend with. So the idea would be, you get everybody in line with each other, you make them make that decision of which lane they're gonna be in, and then they're in that lane, and it is gonna back up to a certain extent. But you're not zigzagging through to try to get where you're going. You pick your lane, you go to the lane that you're gonna be in. The traffic island, I mean, I have some concerns about it too. There's like some interesting parking lots that are right there. I just see that if we're, I saw the effect of the lane change from 4 to 3 in front of my own house, and it makes traffic more predictable. I do wait longer to get out of my driveway, like that's a given, but I know that I can see all the cars that are coming in a line, as opposed to the 2 lanes. So I wasn't able to find, there's the bridge project for sure, but I'm not able to find the reconstruction project, but there certainly is a reconstruction project in a CIP or the budget somewhere.
Commissioner Glissman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I checked, and if you go to October 16th, 2023, agenda G6, there was a suggested motion. I don't have the minutes here, maybe Ramona can find them. The suggested motion was approve the proposed plan for a 3-lane road diet for West Genesee Street and authorize the city manager to approve final construction plans as presented by Spicer Engineering. So this takes us back to where it was first proposed. I don't know what happened on October 16th, 2023, but it puts us back to what was actually voted on. And I'll point out that this was before the November election, so your commissioners would have been different than Commissioner Petrie, Commissioner Brady, and myself.
And me.
And you, yes.
Mr. Mayor, may I address that?
Yes, please.
Ms. Glissman, you're absolutely correct about that. However, that was West Genesee, which is the section that's already been completed in front of Mr.
Okay.
Brady's house. But just briefly, for Ms. Petrie's sake, because I agree, this is a complicated issue, which is why we need the commission to address it. But one of the things that struck me was you're talking about coming down the hill with momentum and all the issues, which I'm assuming you mean speed. And that's what the absolute bulk of the literature will suggest to you about a road diet, is that it slows down the speeds.
Right.
And you're right, there is the trade-off of some increased congestion, which is the result of slower speeds. It's about safety versus how many cars can you get through. I'm on Genesee Street all the time. They go very, very fast. To Mr. Brady's point, one time I was on my bicycle, not here, it was over in Rochester somewhere, crossing a 5-lane road that had a center island, and the first car in the first lane stopped for me, and I could not see the other car that was behind him that was still traveling. And I got hit and knocked off my bicycle because I couldn't see the other car coming. Now, had that been a 3-lane road, that wouldn't have happened. You know, obviously it's just my personal experience in that situation, but road diet slow down traffic, and there's the increased congestion as a cost of it.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Just a quick question. I would like to put this question to Row Engineering, and here's my question. Did you provide at some earlier date, because it never happened in my very short tenure, that showed the safety features and the statistics for reduced traffic, you know, all the positives of it? Was there some capsulated presentation to the city commission at one point that isolated those issues? And I'll be very honest, I've been T-boned right there.
Sure.
And almost, you know, people were surprised I lived. So to me, you know, you probably want to even put a stoplight there to get people not to be putting on their foot on the gas to go there. So I'd be afraid if you put it in, people are still gonna race and someone's gonna get hit, especially if it's pedestrians with pedestrians or bikers with no protection. They don't have a metal car wrapped around them. So I'm always very hesitant, but I don't know. I mean, last meeting, we talked about, it says safety, and I think someone here made the comment, just because a word safety is in something doesn't mean it is safe. So did you capture and provide some type of safety overview of what the safety benefits are for putting this in, to kind of pre-sell it?
We did more study on the 3-lane configuration. We were hired to do a study to make sure, does it make sense to go from 4 to 3? We did a computer simulation to show how the cars would work in that scenario. You still keep the Saginaw and M24 intersections basically the way they are, because they can't be reduced. But outside of that, the part in between definitely can work as a 3-lane road with the simulation.
That's just saying it can't. My question to you was there research done? Not can it happen, because we could put an ice cream store there. I mean, we could. Not that it can happen, is that were there the safety details, statistics, outcomes, case studies, the things that would kind of elevate, promote, and support the safety features of putting one of these in. So it gives you statistics on safety, not feasibility of it happening.
You're saying the island or the 3-lane configuration?
I guess it's putting the island creates 3 lanes, right?
No, the island is a separate issue. You can do 3 lanes and not have an island.
Okay, I guess it's to find the island then. But I guess I'm confusing the two because we're on the island, yet we're talking about having one single lane one way and the other. I would assume it goes one lane, the island in the middle.
Well, you can just have a left turn lane.
Okay, but at this point, we're on an island discussion.
Right.
And we're trying to get that moved. And my question is, in last meetings, the island creates safety, and my question is, has there been case studies and statistics and outcomes from other communities that prove safety and outline those so they're easily digestible, rather than feasibility that it can be done?
We were charged to do the 3-lane study. We did the computer simulation. The island's kind of a separate issue. It's harder to map that because we don't have any map as to how many pedestrians actually want to cross there. When you create a different environment, then there'll be a different number of pedestrians. In our professional judgment, the island can work as proposed, and it will make things safer if you're a pedestrian and you're attempting to cross there.
If I could just address that real quick.
Yes.
So I think what Ms. McCarthy is saying is, if you build it, will they come, or is the chicken or the egg the first one there? You know, there's probably not a lot of people crossing there as pedestrians right now, because it's not a safe crossing. The question is, if you put an island there, which I think is safer, are you creating the opportunity for more people to try to cross there? More people crossing traffic is less safe.
Yes.
I think my point was, there's other communities that put them in, other communities that had heavy trafficked areas that they put them into here, and there should be statistics from those case studies that prove that they saw increased safety, they saw more pedestrians go across it without being hit by a car. I mean, that's why we have case studies, that's why people put something in and then they follow, and that's all I'm asking, is because that kind of feathers the bed of safety, comfort that people are looking for. I personally, because I got T-boned there, you know, you're gonna be dragging me pretty tough. I'm just letting you know. So that's why if you could give me that, I really was open to what Mr. Brady said, where now he only has 1 lane he has to look for because the second lane's not gonna run by him, and like he said, and hit him. That made a lot of sense to me, not something I had thought about, but I was just seeing if there was more, I hate to keep going on, just if there was more somehow evidence, positive evidence after the fact from other communities that might have installed them.
Commissioner Brady.
I just want to make it clear, I'm not like sold on the traffic island. So if there's pretty well consensus, like I'm not the only holdout, I'm not the one trying to, it makes sense on a mobility scooter or something that's very slow to cross, and then you need to like really check the other way. But I think, I don't really want an island in the middle. I think 3 lanes is a huge leap forward. There'll be a big bike lane. It's like 5 to 8 feet bike lane. Do you remember, Mr. O'Meara? It's a big bike lane on both sides because you've reduced from 4 to 3. And you put that turn lane there, so now people know who's turning, and now people know who's going straight. So I'm comfortable giving direction not to pursue an island. The commission is.
Commissioner Glissman?
I want to preserve the ability to get that grant money. So I'm wondering, can we, I don't know what the motion is at this point, but can we do something where there were 3 items for the grant money, and that we just take the top 2 and drop off the one that it is about the road diet?
Mr. Mayor, if I
Is that
may,
possible?
I think it was 2, and Mr. Mayor, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's one about the lights, and then there's one about the island.
Right, yeah, we're already working on an application to put in pedestrian signals at 2 intersections as one combined grant request, and the other one was the island, which we haven't started because we're not really clear if the commission supports it or not.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner McCarthy.
Would a step forward be that we make a motion to approve the diet or not, and then we go to vote, and then we know the diet's on or off the schedule? Is that how we move forward?
I think that's appropriate.
Mr. Womack, the diet, according to Mr. Brady, has already been approved, right? So it's the pedestrian crossing that we're discussing right now, right?
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
So I agree with Mr. Brady's assessment that I don't know if there was ever like a check the box for 3 lanes, but there's been a number of different times that this has come in front of different commissions who've all said, yes, we're moving towards 3 lanes, yes, we're moving towards 3 lanes. So, you know, for the benefit of staff, you know, if that's the direction the commission wants to go, or a different direction, we just need direction at this point.
Okay.
And then a second question, I guess, would be whether you want to do the island itself.
Okay.
And that would
So
be a
that'd be
question
2
for
separate
2
motions
You could
that you're
probably-
looking for right now?
Yes, that would
Okay.
make it easiest for me.
All right, very good. Ms. McCarthy?
Would you like me to make a motion? No, I was just,
Oh,
my hands were
okay.
because I think
Mr.
I'm
Brady.
Italian.
I move that the commission gives its support to continue with the proposed 3-lane road diet for East Genesee between M24 and Saginaw.
Support?
Support.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Brady, support by Commissioner McCarthy to support the road diet. Commissioner Atwood?
Is there going to be a pedestrian crossing there?
If I may.
Yes.
I think there's gonna be a left-hand turn lane there, which would probably be utilized by some intrepid pedestrians as a fake safety island, but it wouldn't have any raised barriers of any kind.
There's not currently one.
All right. Any others? Commissioner Petrie?
I'm just gonna reiterate, if we change this with this bridge work, why would we do that? Why would we narrow it and congest this area more? People are so frustrated with congestion of 21 and 24 right now. Yes, it'll slow it down. Are we slowing it down? Was the purpose slowing it down for pedestrian crossing and bicycle crossing? If that's why we were doing the road diet, I think we need to think about the majority, and the majority of that road use is vehicles. It's so congested there right now. I think to do this with an ambulance garage on the corner, it's a compound corner, it's already really difficult to maneuver with. I think it's gonna damage the flow of traffic, the flow of people coming to this downtown area. I think it's gonna slow it down to the people. For most people, they'll just avoid it. And we want people to come and visit our downtown and those businesses in that area. I think it's a disservice to the businesses and the flow of traffic.
Mr. Brady?
Maybe as a counterpoint to Ms. Petrie's, I believe the intersection is going to remain almost entirely the same, that there are no proposed changes. Essentially what you're building into the road is a more prominent turn lane to wait for that intersection. People are already waiting in that left-hand lane, and we're just now essentially designating that as a turn lane. And I think that you'll have people making more predictable traffic decisions. People will know where they're supposed to be on that part of the road, and that it will be a net positive for the area.
Commissioner McCarthy?
For clarity, and maybe someone here on this commission could tell me, but it is going to also incorporate bicycle lanes, which may or may not have been so clearly outlined previously. And so that would be a yes or no, someone has to tell me. And then number 2, we have a growing bicycle population here. I mean, when MSU did their study, that Jim went and, you know, he teed it up for us, and he went through all kinds of lanes to get this for the community, and I sat through it a couple years ago. One of their number 1 issues was the courthouse, which is always locked, historic courthouse. And I think within the top 3 was the bicycle paths, our parks, and how this could be a bicycle community. I'm just saying, experts came in to tell us these things. And so, is this also going to be trying to adapt to that bicycle community? Are there gonna be designated bicycle paths on this road? I'm not a bicyclist, so I have no skin in the game, I'm just trying to understand.
Mr. Womack?
Defer to Mr. Romero.
Okay.
So the fact that we need to keep the road operating the same at Saginaw and M24, and there's no intent to expand the road because that involves right-of-way and a much more complicated project. The bike lanes will not go all the way through, so we've got that extra pavement in the middle where it's 3 lanes and can be used as a bike lane, but it can't be marked as though I can get on a bike and drive through the M24 intersection on a bike lane. That's not gonna happen.
Okay.
So it's not being sold as a bike facility.
No, I didn't think it was being sold as, but I thought some here said there was gonna be larger bike paths on either side or something.
There would be if you want to go like from Bentley down to Fox or something.
Right, so you could come off a side street and there would be a section on this street that would be,
Right.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Petrie?
When you do the bridge area and everything, are you putting sidewalks on both sides of Genesee?
No,
Just on the south then?
that's my understanding. Ro's not directly involved with that design. Russ, I think it's just
That's a
sidewalk
Spicer Grove project.
on one side.
Do you?
Yep, yes, it is being built as sidewalks on each side. There is no continuous sidewalk on the north side of the road.
Right.
The south side of the road will be sidewalk throughout.
But there won't be on the north side.
There's no sidewalk there now.
Right.
Because of the steep hill right now, but there is a walkable area on the side of the bridge. I mean,
And will it be the same size sidewalk that's there now, or will that be a wider sidewalk?
It'll be a wider sidewalk, yeah. It'll be a 5-foot sidewalk.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yep.
Is there a curb before the side? Is there a curb separating the sidewalk, or is it?
Yes, there's a curb.
Okay, because currently there's like a secondary area, right?
No, there's definitely curb dividing the sidewalk and the roadway. And if I could add something else, this bridge is being built as a 4-lane bridge. So whether we decide to go with a 3-lane or a 4-lane, it's not gonna change the bridge project at all.
Thank you.
Meaning the lane change is just a paint job.
Well, there's also a water main project the next year.
Underneath of the road.
Yeah, that's when we would paint it down to 3 lanes.
Mr. Atwood?
So the April 7th, 2025, we approved the pedestrian crossing study for $2,900 and the traffic data collection and road diet study in the amount of $5,800. And that was passed unanimously. So you're saying from the data from that pedestrian crossing study, you're saying it is possible to add a pedestrian crossing there
Yes,
safely?
yes,
And you're also saying that from the study that you guys collected that we paid for, it's also possible to do a road diet.
yes.
Who controls the light on that corner? MDOT?
The M24 intersection?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, we can use this data to get a hold of MDOT and maybe look at the cycling of the lights, because ultimately the lanes aren't controlling the traffic necessarily, it's the traffic light, correct?
Yeah, my understanding
the
is that-
flow.
Right. Mhm.
So generally speaking, like I said when you shrink traffic, roads were obviously designed for vehicles, and we lost track of the human element, connectability, safety. It is kind of an odd intersection, I'll give it that, because you do have the left-hand turn and the traffic island kind of right there. But I mean, I am in favor of connectivity. I'm in favor of creating more opportunity for people to get from one space to another, whether it be on foot, bicycle, scooter. One thing we got to remember that when we're doing and making these decisions for the city, we got to try and keep our emotions out of it and just specifically look at does this make sense for our city or does it not, given the data that we have, in your professional opinion? I don't recall if there's been any other money spent specifically on that. Maybe if we could get that info sooner rather than later. Is there a deadline on this?
Yeah, the grant application's due on May 1st. So that's
And-
why,
And that's specifically for the pedestrian?
for the signals grant as well as the island grant, two different requests. They're both
Two different grants or same grant?
Two different grants. And they're both due May 1st.
Commissioner McCarthy.
So we have a motion on the table. There's two different issues. We can make it into a 3-lane, or we can also do what we're gonna do plus a diet island, right? Those are the two options, am I correct?
Well, there's a 3-lane configuration, and then there's the pedestrian island can go on top of that if.
Right,
the
so
3
that's
lanes
it.
are built.
We can do
Yes.
3-lane without a diet and 3-lane with a diet. But right now, we have a motion from Mr. Brady that I seconded. First, we need to approve to get to a 3-lane. Whether the diet happens or not, we gotta approve the 3-lane.
Diet means from 4 to 3, so it's a little confusing when you're using the word diet.
But one is an island.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just trying to say, the motion is to move to a 3-lane. And then we can go and do a second motion and get through it to say, do we want an island?
Mm-hmm.
But we have a question, we have a motion on the table right now to move it as is to a 3-lane. Do I call the question to try to get us to that point?
No, you don't have to because we just hit our 30-minute mark. So
Okay.
I was just about to interrupt at some point and ask that we move to a vote on the motion that's on the table, which is to support the road diet.
The motion is not to support the road diet, it's to move it to 3 lanes. The diet is
That's the same thing.
Road diet.
Yeah.
Oh, the road, okay, okay. And then the island is separate, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry,
All right. So, and Madam Clerk, you have the mover and the supporter on that as well,
Correct.
because I already forgot. Okay,
Commissioner Brady moved it, Commissioners,
okay.
excuse me, McCarthy.
Can you repeat the motion as you have recorded?
Sure. To support for the 3-lane road diet between Main Street and Saginaw Street.
Okay, and we'll take a roll
I
call.
think we should add to that it's on East Genesee.
Yep, thank you. And we'll take a roll call for that.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie,
No.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Brady,
Yes.
Commissioner Glistman.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to
Mr. Mayor?
the next topic that Mr. Womack had. Can you
Thank you.
reiterate? Thank you.
So just following up on Ms. McCarthy's comments, I don't know if you guys want to take another 30 minutes to discuss the safety island itself, because that's really the issue that we're at. And I appreciate the support for the 3-lane change, but we do need direction on the safety island.
Mm-hmm.
And as Ms. McCarthy's already elucidated, you can have the 3 lanes without it, or you can have the 3 lanes with it, but we need direction.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion for that direction that Mr. Womack is asking for? This is regarding the safety island. Commissioner Brady?
I make a motion to direct Roe to stop pursuing a traffic island for East Genesee Street.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Brady, second by Commissioner Glistman to direct Roe to stop pursuing the pedestrian safety crossing island. Discussion. All right. Mr. Atwood?
This might be a dumb question. I should know the answer. Didn't we just approve this last meeting?
The money for it.
Pursuit of
We I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go
We
ahead.
approved $3,000 for Rowe to perform grant research and trying to get the grant. They're doing that with the downtown crossing. This is to say, please don't do that for the island.
Which one of those? We have some of the other grant research information inside of our packet, right? Any other discussion question? All right, we'll take a roll call.
Commissioner Petrie,
Can you repeat it for me one more time, Ramona, so I know?
do my best. Stop pursuing the Safety Crossing Traffic Island Grant.
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
No.
Commissioner Brady.
Yes.
Commissioner Glistman,
Yes.
and Commissioner McCarthy.
Yes.
Motion carries. That brings us to H2, Mr. Womack.
Thank you. So at the last meeting, we discussed the possibility of imposing a data center moratorium so that staff can work on catching up with the law. I did have a brief conversation with one of our state elected officials today, and we discussed this issue briefly. It's an ongoing thing. I think there's a lot of communities out there that don't quite know what's gonna happen. I know the state's discussed it. The state hasn't made any final determinations either. I think this is an appropriate step for us to take from a safety perspective, and through our zoning ordinances to help protect the citizens of Lapeer, and so we can determine how we want these to be incorporated into our future. I would point out that somehow, magically, the word township was accidentally used in this. It should say city. That's just a typo. The rest of it, the factual portions of it are appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Ms. McCarthy.
I probably just need clarity. So when I first brought this up, I kind of brought this back and kind of whined about it a little bit and teed it up, because when we went to CapCon 2026 in March, we had to sit through an hour and a half presentation we'll never get back. And there were 4 or 5 people up there basically talking about energy projects. And some of the things they said kind of lighted a fuse with me. And so I came back and I started speaking with Mr. Womack. My concern, and again, there could be health drawbacks from having a data center here. There could be welfare drawbacks. But my biggest concerns from what I've read is, and my concern for diligence for the community, is that in some communities where they have brought these in, they were all excited. We're gonna get more employment, and we're gonna get more tax base, and we're gonna get all these bennies, right? And then what happened was that when that data center came in, and I'm using layman's terms, I'm not an engineer, I'm not. But basically, from my basic understanding, is the community did not have ordinances and legal dialogue for the contracts in place that sheltered the citizens from shared expenses. When you bring in a data center, it's gonna cost a boatload of money to them to build and connect to the pre-existing grids, water, waste, roads, electricity. And those communities that went ahead to get the bennies, to get more employment, etc., yes, there's traffic, yes, there's construction, that's gonna happen whether it's houses or whether it's a data center. But they didn't know that their utility bills were gonna triple and quadruple. So my concern was that, and I don't know if this is feasible, I wanted to make sure, and maybe it's in here and we're just putting it under a larger umbrella, I want to make sure that during the 12 months, we are looking at ordinances with Rowe and whatever else, we're looking at zoning issues, and we're making sure we have the legal verbiage in there that we don't share costs, that if they come here after the 12 months, and we've zoned it correctly, that they can be in the right zone because we're through our master plan, and maybe it's not feasible, but that they have to be self-sufficient, that they have to incur the cost to build the site and attach to the infrastructure, and they have to maintain their own costs going forward to cover this. I don't want us to share expenses. after the fact, that suddenly our water bills go up because they use a lot of water, or our electric or whatever go up because of the pool they have. So that was another piece of this that maybe the welfare of the community and the safety, maybe that all is an umbrella. But I just wanted to make sure that those 3 issues during that 12 months would be reviewed. And some of it says it will be. I mean, it does to some degree. But it was more about shared costs and the impact of having that after the fact to our community. So that we get, you know, we'd love to get lots of jobs here and a bright new shiny, you know, building. If it doesn't cost us an arm and a leg and all of our utilities go up and it's a hidden cost to us. I guess that's major. I'll stop talking.
Thank you. Commissioner Glissman.
A year ago when Commissioner Petrie and I attended CapCon, we both sat in a meeting on energy, and at that time, you're expecting to hear wonderful things about energy in Michigan, but we did not. We heard that it was fragile and that we could be in trouble with the energy sources we have. So I would prefer to sustain a moratorium on a data center till we collect as much information as we possibly can. I know that out in Las Vegas, where they use a lot of energy, that Mr. Wynn, when he built his last casino, when he was told what it would cost him to connect to the electricity grid from the city, decided it was cheaper for him to build his own. So I don't know if these data centers, which are going to gobble up all kinds of electricity and the water, would be able to build their own electrical grid to sustain themselves. That's why I just feel like we should sustain the moratorium and collect as much information as possible, and also see what's happened in other communities, not only in Michigan, but throughout the country.
Thank you. Commissioner Petrie.
I just have one question that goes along kind of with Commissioner McCarthy's, and that is that some wording in here includes zoning and ordinances. Can the moratorium be extended if we decide after 12 months we haven't had enough time, we still have more work to do? Can we extend that? And if we can, how long could we extend it?
If I may?
Yes, please.
So my understanding is that it can. However, you don't ever want to get into a position of basically creating a law that goes on forever and ever by way of resolution. That's not appropriate. But as you'll recall, when we did the moratorium for marijuana businesses, that was extended past a year. I think it took us almost 18 months.
Okay.
So I don't see any reason why we couldn't. But my understanding is that the state of Michigan has also imposed their own April 27 deadline for them to kind of fill this space. So that's why I chose, until that date. But we could certainly extend it at that point. Mr. Francis, I'm sorry, do you have any thoughts on it?
Mayor, I agree with that. I would cautiously say moratoriums are not a favored way to deal with items, but you're better having a moratorium than not having a moratorium. The idea is that you're actively working during the 12-month moratorium period. I would have no issue if in 11 months, Mr. Womack and the team have some information and then have a plan going forward into the extended moratorium period. That's what I would like to see when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the state has announced we're coming out with something in 3 months, I think that's another basis to say, hey, we're gonna see what crack the state said. Something along those lines, but you're not, it's not ideal to sit 12 months and not have acted on it, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Francis. And Mr. Womack, I'm just going to address both Ms. McCarthy's and Ms. Petrie's request on the ordinance portion, which also kind of falls in line with what Mr. Francis is recommending on page 3 of the, well, it's numbered page 3. I don't see the page 1 though. On page 3, paragraph 3, this is, and sentence 3, 12 months or until the city has enacted a regulatory ordinance setting forth the regulations for the establishment and use of the data centers within the city. I think that addresses your concern for doing research on our ordinances and regulations and addressing those. It addresses your concern, Mr. Francis, that we're actively pursuing something inside of the 12 months. It looks like you guys have baked that right into the resolution, that this is action-oriented. It's not just a freeze and wait type thing. So also, Ms. McCarthy, you had mentioned something about public health and safety. That would be on page 2, paragraph 3 as well, last sentence. So that we may have substantial impacts. Okay, so whether absent such data, regulation data centers may interfere with other land uses, may have substantial impacts on environmental, public health, safety, and welfare. What I don't see here, oh, no, that's on sentence 2. Cities should study and review.
Mine wasn't about welfare and health, it was about
Okay.
financial burden.
Okay.
And that could be welfare.
That's what I'm asking.
That, I mean, it's
Is
just, it could be on the, you know, I mean, we wanna cut it short so it's not so lengthy that we choke on it, but I was just saying that I don't see something that specifically talks about minimizing the financial impact that could happen to our citizens, but it could be under welfare, I don't know, so, you know,
Okay.
the legalese of it all.
Yep.
If I can address that?
Yes, please.
So the language that's used here is language that I believe is straight out of either the charter or the state. It's standard legal language that we are obligated to look out for the health, wealth, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Lapeer. I believe that the welfare would include that.
Thank you.
And that's what I was wondering, is it could be under an umbrella of a word that we're thinking of it as something
Do
else.
you still have a question?
That's what I wanted to
Okay.
verify that it for sure fell under welfare.
Very good. All right, Mr. Womack, are you looking for a motion right now to approve this resolution?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I guess I didn't realize I just put it as discussion on data center moratorium. Now, of course, this resolution's been in your packet and publicly available for a full week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been available to the public to speak on. If they have any discussion items, they could have said it during public comment. I'd be comfortable with you approving the resolution. I'd also be comfortable with correction by unanimous consent to put it into the next agenda for approval at that date, I guess as the commission sees fit.
Okay. Based on that response from Mr. Womack, does anybody have a motion that they would like to present?
Are you saying that if we made a motion tonight, you feel comfortable with that?
I'd be comfortable with either a motion to approve the resolution. I'd also be comfortable with a motion to move it to the next agenda for approval.
Commissioner McCarthy?
I make a motion that we approve this data center moratorium as written in tonight's package.
Very good.
Support.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner McCarthy, support by Commissioner Glissman to adopt the data center moratorium as presented. Any other discussion before we go to a roll call? No? Take a roll call.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Glissman?
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, that brings us to H3, various matters. Under City Manager's report, Mr. Womack, do you have anything else?
I do have a couple things, Mr. Mayor, thank you. First thing, as Ms. McCarthy indicated for previous meeting, City Manager's review is coming up. She asked that it be at the second meeting in May. I'm fine with that. Mr. Mayor, I know that you've been in contact with the clerk to discuss the form that's been used by the city previously. So I believe it's past practice that the mayor work with both the commission and the clerk to get that distributed to the commission so that they can have it prepared prior to, hopefully, the second meeting in May. The budget meeting that is currently proposed for this coming Thursday, I guess I need some direction for whether you guys want to actually hold that as a special meeting. I've heard various accounts of whether the commission members were comfortable with that as presented, if they want to discuss it more as a group. So I guess I'm looking for direction on whether they want to hold that meeting on Thursday or not.
All right. All right, discussion on the special meeting for the budget this Thursday.
I have one issue that I've been working with to get clarity, not necessarily to ask the budget to increase or decrease, but just to get clarity of how it falls. I've also talked to Manager Womack prior to the meeting, and I'll probably just sit down and have some dialogue with him to move it forward. So I didn't have any additional questions, but I know that I had that one floating out there, and I'm comfortable with not having the meeting if everybody else doesn't want to.
Any other discussion?
I agree.
Okay. Very good. All
Thank
right.
you. So we will not plan for that meeting. I'll sit down with Ms. McCarthy to discuss her issues. If something fruitful comes of that discussion, it would be presented to you guys probably maybe as a modification of the budget prior to approval. But we'll communicate that with the commission as we move forward. Let's see. I would ask that the commission consider appointing Jeremy Howe, police chief, as acting manager between May 10th and May 16th. I'm going to try to take a little vacation time, and during that time of May 10th and May 16th, I will be only available by spotty email and spotty cell phone service. So I would ask the commission to appoint police chief Howe to be acting manager.
Can you repeat those dates, please?
May 10th through May 16th. I would ask for either a motion or unanimous consent.
We'll start with unanimous consent.
Yes.
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 Very good.
Thank you. The last thing, Ms. McCarthy, because you talked yourself into this one, I appreciate that. We've talked previously about having a courthouse tour. Do you know anybody who can maybe arrange that for the commission?
I don't know anybody who has keys.
I've been here now 3 years and I've yet to see the courthouse, and I keep wanting to, and I think the commission might benefit from that. I guess I would look for discussion and direction about whether I could work with Ms. McCarthy about setting that up for the commission.
I do have keys after 30 years. However, I'm not sure that it has it's clear for occupancy for a walkthrough at this point. I would have to check. That's why I've been holding off. We are moving things off the lawn, et cetera, to support America 250. My historic architect is telling me it is not going to be ready until right before our December gala. They'll still be doing work inside. So I'm just waiting for my next meeting, which is in May. It's the second Wednesday of May. And at that time, Buildings and Parks, who's on my board, will actually tell me when we can get in it. And I would be able to come back probably to the second May meeting and give you some exact dates that I could get us inside. And I would be glad to take anybody from the city or the city commission on a tour. And I'm also trained as a historic docent to give the tour, so hold on.
Docent, it's a great word.
Hold on.
Okay. So I guess I would just say I'd like to arrange for a courthouse tour, I guess, whenever Ms. McCarthy is ready and available for us. And that is all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Womack.
Mr. Mayor, he's diligently writing notes over there.
All right, and Ms. McCarthy, you said that you could do that second week of May. You'll have an answer for that?
I will have it at that meeting because I'll have already had my friend's board meeting by then, so I should be able to get Julian from Buildings and Parks to give me some hard dates.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Okay, at this time, I would like to address two different housekeeping issues. And they are purely housekeeping, and I would like to make a motion and then open it up for discussion so you see why I'm making this motion. I would like to make a motion to move that the City Commission develop and implement a request for proposal, RFP, for city attorney services as part of the city's contract review cycle. The RFP should be issued in May 2026, and the RFP deadline and City Commission review be concluded prior to the expiration of the current city attorney contract on July 18th, 2026. The process shall include public notice and broad distribution of the RFP to encourage competitive participation. All proposals received shall be submitted to the City Commission for review, evaluation, and comparison. The evaluation process shall include interviews with each respondent. That's my motion.
All right. Support?
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner McCarthy, support by Commissioner Petrie. I'm not going to repeat all that because I'm not going to be able to remember it. Did you provide a copy to?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have that copy?
I do.
Okay. We'll open for discussion. We'll start with Ms. McCarthy, the mover.
This has nothing to do with our city attorney per se, like I'm not displeased in any way, whatever. But it's a pretty standard due diligence for a community to evaluate professional services on a 3 to 5 year basis. It has been standard practice, I don't know what we want to call this, but for background, my husband's firm, Cole Harris Nolan McCarthy, which is now defunct because they're all judges, they were the city attorney for this city for years. And the previous city manager, which this is nothing against Mike Womack, he's not done anything wrong, they sent that out to bid religiously. And they were told, yep, you have the services, but you gotta come back and we gotta rediscuss, because it gives you that chance to have dialogue and evaluation. So I'm just stating that I think that that's something we should do as a standard practice for our professional services, on any professional services that we have ongoing contracts every 3 to 5 years. So I did it now, it's a 3-year window coming up, and that's what you typically do, is you try to get it done. And I will tell you that my husband went out to bid every 3 years and he still had a contract. So it's not, I'm not trying to say anything about services not being good. I'm saying, I'm making a motion off agenda for us to consider this.
All right. Mr. Womack.
Just like every time a motion is added to the agenda, I'm very concerned about the lack of transparency that's being created when we start adding things apparently in the city manager's report, which of course I had absolutely no knowledge that this was going to be even proposed. But if we're going to be reviewing our professional contracts, are we also going to review the row contract and put that out to bid?
I would suggest, if you're asking my opinion, I would say that all professional services should be bid out every 3 to 5 years as an annual thing. Again, I don't know how many, 20-some years my husband was the attorney, and the past city manager put him out to bid every 3 years. And every 3 years they went through it, and every 3 years they interviewed, and they still won the thing, but it gave the city commission a chance to dialogue with them, because it gave the manager a chance to change things, whatever it is, it's a process. I don't think it's in any way meant to be hurtful or in any way to cast aspersions that a person isn't doing a great job. That's all.
Mr. Brady.
Well, I don't fundamentally disagree with you. I think the way that it was presented does kind of cast that light. I would have preferred to have seen a question to the commission brought that said, would we like to review our professional services across the board every 3 to 5 years, so often, and let the commission decide if that's the policy that we would like to go for. Now we're really locked in. Are we going to evaluate our attorney right now? And this just feels like something that doesn't have to happen right now. So I would be more comfortable if we didn't. I'd rather go through like a little slower and say like, okay, how often do we want to review our professional services? Let's all agree on that. And then once we've agreed on that, then we can start going through the services on a rotation. I'm not against the idea, just maybe the way that we're doing
it. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is my 11th year, if I'm doing the math correctly, maybe 12th, I don't know. I've been here a while. The process of when we sent it out for bid, if we did, I think the city manager or the city would recommend the law firm to the city. The only time I remember doing interviews was when we were looking to hire the city attorney, or we went through that process. I don't recall ever sitting down and having conversations with attorneys that were sending in bids. But I kind of piggyback off of what Commissioner Brady said. I don't think this is the, if you want to add it, we should have done that at the beginning. When we approve the agenda, you can add the item. I think Commissioner Brady has tried making a motion, I think during his comment at the end, that was not allowed. I understand McCarthy is just trying to probably bring up conversation, so I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
You guys can vote it down. I'm pitching it.
I'm just saying maybe not the appropriate a time. Yeah, I just don't. off the top of my head, I don't remember having interviews or meetings like we did when we were looking for a city attorney 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, Commissioner McCarthy.
My husband was part of that interview process 3 years ago. He was in front of you, he gave an interview, he had put in, he had put in a bid, and then he had decided to run for judge. So he came here and he said, I'm withdrawing my bid. And you were all interviewing them, so you did sit through it, but it has happened in the past, because I remember him, but you didn't maybe do it with my husband because you did it with Mike Nolan. But he withdrew at that time, and then you guys went through with the rest of the interviews. But 3 years ago, my husband's bid was actually in that package as well. So he was included in an evaluation where the city commission was listening to interviews for the process of selecting an attorney. And he then did pull his bid package that night and announced he was running for judge, which I think Jeff Hogan was so kind to put in the paper a year early. Thank you. So it is something that happens, and I know that in the past he had to participate in, maybe not with you, but with other city commissioners, in interview processes for bid packages when Dale Purvisant was sharpening his pencil.
Commissioner Brady.
Charter 4.6 says the city manager and attorney shall be appointed by the commission for an indefinite period and shall be responsible to serve at the pleasure of the commission and shall have their compensation fixed by the commission. So I would just, maybe it's worth asking the question of when we appoint an attorney for an indefinite period, whether there's some other policy that we have aside from the charter.
Do you have an answer?
Would your response be then that if it's an indefinite period, you never evaluate the contract and you never get a new attorney because they have to die?
It would be when it's decided that we would want a new one, not necessarily. I'm not opposed to the scheduling idea. I'm just saying, same thing with Mr. Womack, when we decide that we finally used him up and we're ready to push him up to this. I'm just kidding, Mr. Womack, I apologize. At the time at which Mr. Womack's career with the city is over, we'll go through the search process. But I wouldn't expect to put him onto a similar 3 to 5 year plan. And the charter does specifically link. The two people that we hire are our attorney and our manager.
Okay. Commissioner Petrie. You? Commissioner
She can go first. It's
Okay.
So if I could just clarify with Commissioner Atwood and Commissioner Brady, you're not opposed to reevaluating, you're just opposed to the way it was brought up. I'm clarifying.
Commissioner Brady.
I would also seek an answer to Charter 4.6 to see if that's something that we can put into place or not.
I guess my question, sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At that time, I think the city commission was looking to hire a new attorney, and so they sent out the bid. I can't remember 3 years ago specifically, but I think that was why we were doing interviews and bids were going out. Like I said, that was the only time I remember ever interviewing law firms, is when we were looking for an attorney.
All right. 1 second. I want to address Mr. Brady's question to 4.6. Mr. Francis, would you mind?
Regarding whether it's, I'm sorry, Mayor, whether it's possible to review, yes, we serve at the pleasure of the council, my office. This council could make, and that's what the indefinite period means. I'm not contractually bound to you, and you're not contractually bound to me for 5 years or 10 years. It's at the pleasure of council. Could this council seek to submit bids? I think that's certainly, whether you act on them is completely up to the commission too.
And Mr. Francis, if I remember correctly, during my onboarding, I received your contract and trying to recall, but in the contract, I believe it says that both sides could end the relationship at any time for any reason.
Yeah, and that's how I read indefinite Correct. Yep.
Okay, I think that's how I understood it
Correct.
too. When we
Yeah.
read this part in the charter, that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
and I don't have it in front of me, but that's my thorough understanding. It could be terminated by the commission tomorrow, and I could as well cease. So I'm no longer. Yep, I
Okay.
agree with that.
But that addresses indefinite, which I think is also a little bit off track, because what we're trying to discern is whether or not we could even put out for bids. This isn't about terminating the relationship.
Correct.
This is about information seeking, correct?
Correct.
Which charter isn't speaking to that at
Correct.
all. Okay, thank you. Ms. McCarthy?
Seeing that my husband went out, his Cole Harris Nolan got bid out almost every 3 years. I think it was every 3 years, and he can maintain the contract. It's not about termination, and he was under the exact same charter and Robert's rules. It was standard protocol for that to happen. It just hasn't happened under Mike, because he's only been here 3 years. I mean, he and the attorney both happened right around the same time. I'm just, that's just it. But it did happen, and there were times where they had to come in and justify why they were billing a certain way. There were times where they had to sharpen it and come in lower for different billable hours. There were times that they had to, and that was more, those dialogues were not led by the city commissioners, but during those interview processes, those type of dialogues, those questions would be negotiated and led by the city manager, which is fine. So I'm just saying, it happened, and they still kept the contract. I think they had it for 20, 25 years. I mean, they had a long time. They also had Tuscola, Caro, Metamora. I mean, they had a few.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, if we look to the purchasing policy for a little guidance, one of the things it speaks about in there is professional services. There are some very, very good engineers in this world, and there's some very, very bad engineers in this world. Same thing with city managers, same thing with attorneys. Mr. Francis and his law firm, I think, have provided exceptional services to the city and at significantly reduced rates than what we were paying previously. I think if you go back and you look at the billings history for city attorney fees over the last 10 years, you're going to see a significant reduction in the amount of money that was spent. And of course, I didn't get much opportunity to work with your husband or Mr. Nolan. I see the written word, and they did a fine job. But I would just hate to, I would hate to rush into changing a professional service, which I think is greatly benefit the city, for cost savings, which even then, I think the city saved us a significant amount of money. So this is just one of those areas in the purchasing policy where it gives more deference towards the quality of the service and less towards the cost of the service.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mr. Atwood?
Yeah, just so you know, the interview process is the only one I've been involved with. I'm not, maybe it did go out for bid 3 years, but I do remember approving the contract. So I think we're both kind of saying the same thing, where the city manager probably made the recommendation to review the contract and maybe looked at the bids, and then, I'm just saying the interview process, that only been part of one. Just so you know.
Mr. Brady?
I want to move toward being able to take approval or disapproval action, but that was a lengthy motion, and I'm very uninformed of what it actually says. I was wondering if I can get a copy before we, or like, I either need it read back real slow, or I need a copy in front of me.
Ready?
Yeah.
I move that the city commission develop and implement a request for proposals, RFP, for city attorney services as part of the city's contract review cycle. The RFP shall be issued in May 2026, and the RFP deadline and city commission review to be concluded prior to the expiration of the current city attorney contract on July 18th, 2026. The process shall include public notice and broad distribution of the RFP to encourage competitive participation. All proposals received shall be submitted to the City Commission for review, evaluation, and comparison. The evaluation process shall include interviews with each respondent.
Thank you.
Good. Mr. Brady?
I would oppose that, just because we're in the middle of trying to settle some things, and I don't really want to try to do a handoff in the middle of trying to settle some things.
All right. Ms. Petrie?
I just need to clarify again, maybe with a question or comment. We are not asking to discharge our city attorney. We are simply asking to review. So,
Yeah, Mr. Atwood?
So I guess just to clarify then, is the city commission doing interviews, or is the city manager looking at the bids and making a recommendation?
I believe the way it was worded, their interviews, they're managing the RFPs, and then we would be, as a city commission, interviewing. Right? That's how it reads. Commissioner McCarthy, maybe you can
You're not gonna
clarify.
get 900, you might get him and 2 other people are gonna throw their hat in the ring, that's it. I mean, you're not gonna get, that's why you spread the net, but fish don't come in.
Mhm.
I can tell you the 3 people here that'll probably, you're gonna get Tim Denny, because that's what he does. You're gonna get Mike Gildner, which might have conflict of interest because he represents Shango, and that's what he does. And the other one you might get is TJ Craven. I mean, you're not gonna get a lot of people locally. I don't know that anybody, I mean, this firm came from Port Huron, but I don't know that you're gonna get a lot of people. It's not gonna be a huge mountain of people that come through, I don't think. You might get 3. I don't know, how many did you get that year?
You got 3 or 4?
3 or 4. It's not a huge, it's not like everybody runs to the wall to throw
We
it
had
in.
a lot, I think.
I just,
We had a lot.
I'm sorry, we did 3 or 4 interviews.
Right.
okay,
Received
3 or
about
4?
a dozen.
Yeah, so
So
probably.
perhaps, it's modified that, and we move forward to go forward, and then we decide who, maybe Mike comes forward and says, this is who we'd like to interview.
And Ms. McCarthy, for clarification, I guess the RFPs are going all the way out till July 18th, so
They'd be
even
completed
then.
before then.
Okay, so
It
then
says the
even then,
completion
there's
of it.
time to review and all this. We're not saying we're absolutely ending the relationship. We're just saying
No,
we're doing
not at
good
all.
due diligence.
It's just, and it says right on, due diligence, that's what you're
Yeah.
doing. And I would say that we want to do it with all of our professional services as part of our contract maintenance.
Okay,
As a city commission, I think we have an obligation for our community to do that.
mhm.
That's just me. You guys can vote for it, vote it down. I just threw it out there.
Mr. Atwood.
I would just make the recommendation that we do not vote on this tonight, that we add it to the next agenda meeting, because we would be setting a precedent for any one of us up here just to make a motion prior or after the agenda and the city business have been approved for that night.
Mhm.
That's my recommendation.
Commissioner Glissman.
Yeah, and I would agree with you totally. And the reason for that is some of us have felt like this was a surprise. Mr. City Manager Womack even said for the sake of transparency. So I would think that we should table this and do this at the next meeting or even the one after that. I don't think that there's a big rush for this because there's a lot of pros and cons for this, and we do have a good attorney in place right now, and as Commissioner Brady stated, we're in the mix right now of a legal thing, and we don't want somebody to come in and have to start from ground zero again. So I would say it's a really good idea because it does offer an opportunity to modify contracts every 3 years. But I think at this time we should table it and wait maybe a month or so.
I call for the orders of the day.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I call for the orders of the day, that we just return back to our approved agenda.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Brady. So we're at,
Mr. Mayor, if I could just
Yes.
solve the impasse a little bit.
Go ahead.
I think we're hearing some of the direction of the commission, and we could at least start putting some work into what's being discussed. Because obviously we're not ready tonight. So we could at least start putting the work together, even if we don't get direction by motion tonight.
yeah, Mr. Womack, yeah, and we're at 30 minutes, so we have to move on from here. And Mr. Brady's orders of the day, I think we're still on order because we're at city attorney's report, or, and this is related or germane to the city attorney. We've had motions come in under certain topics through conversation that was germane. Even the motions that were under city manager's report, the pedestrian, there's no motion here. This is discussion, various matters. Yet we just successfully went through 3 motions that Mr. Womack had suggested to us during discussion. So I just want to be clear on those issues. I'm in favor for postponing because of the way it was presented as well, and for transparency, and so that Mr. Womack can do his due diligence that he was just asking for. But I just want to be clear on the orders of the day. We're in the section that's germane to this topic. So, Ms. McCarthy.
Do I modify it that I ask that we put this on next meeting's agenda?
I think that's
for
appropriate
consideration?
request to direct, maybe by unanimous consent, to
Perfect.
direct Mr. Womack, the city manager, to look into this and maybe even place it on the next agenda.
Perfect.
I think.
So how do we go about that, Ramon? Please?
I guess if the commission wants to give me unanimous consent, then what you just said, I'll move forward.
All right.
Yes.
I do not consent.
Yeah, so there is still a motion on the table. We could either withdraw it or we can vote it through and see where we land, right? Okay. Do you want to withdraw it?
I will withdraw.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I withdraw my motion in regards to the RFP for city attorneys, professional services related to city attorney.
All right. All right, and she removed her second. All right, moving forward from there. Okay, Ms.
Unanimous?
McCarthy.
Unanimous.
Yep, and so we're just gonna do a voice call or voice vote for that. All in favor of directing Mr. Womack to put this on the next agenda? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Nay.
All right. So you don't have unanimous consent, Mr. Womack. There is majority here. How would you proceed from here?
Unanimous consent is obviously one of those things that helps with direction, but, you know, I do hear the majority, and I will, I guess, do some research on it, and at the very least, put it on the next agenda for further discussion.
Okay. Otherwise, what is Ms. McCarthy's next step of action if this is something she feels she wants to proceed with?
If, and of course, I'll have discussions with Ms. McCarthy between the next meeting, but depending on the circumstances, I'll either put it into your agenda, or she has the option of adding it to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting adoption of the agenda.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. McCarthy.
I have another topic. I won't do a motion this time. I'm gonna bring it up, and I'm gonna tell you what my thing is. I would like for us to put somewhere on the agenda the decision, the motion, for the city commissioners to approve that we have ongoing quarterly workshops for learning and education. I've asked for this repeatedly. We've actually voted in to have topics go to workshop, so it isn't like we haven't done it correctly. And we have had other things be put into a workshop that we didn't vote for, and the thing that we voted for, the workshop never happened. We've been asked to schedule workshops with the understanding it was gonna be for the topic we approved, and then a couple of days before the workshop, we find out that's not the topic we thought we were gonna hear. So I would like us to, one, put on the next week, the next month's, or the next time, the next meeting's agenda, that we have a motion to approve workshops. I'd like it to be quarterly, so that we can drop things in as we need them. Secondly, I would like to have a list of combined items, which I've created one, that I think would be important topics. And I will tell you why I'm pushing this, and I'm pushing a little abruptly and bringing it up in a meeting, is because I've asked for these. I have had feedback when I asked to be educated so that I can represent my constituents better, that could be seen as micromanagement. I'm just saying that the more you educate me, the more I can ask good questions, and I'm not asking to pay money. We've cut the budget even on that. We can do this for free. I mean, we can have people come in and explain things in terminology and give us a basic understanding, so we're not leading the discussion, but we're intelligent enough to understand the discussion. I can tell you specifically, if we're talking about energy and all the different terminology, if we're talking about housing development, if we're talking about layered subsidized financing issues, they're very detailed, they're very layered, they're very commingled, they feed off of one another. You need to have some basic understanding. So I'm just saying, we've asked for workshops, they don't happen. We've voted in workshop specific topics, they don't happen. So now I'm asking to put it on the agenda so that we can bring it and get the full commission's direction one way or the other, because I'd like to get educated, because I believe me learning things is going to help me to represent all the people that voted us in.
Mr. Womack.
Thank you. So, and again, not part of our agenda, I was not aware of this coming up. So, there's a lot to unpack with that. You know, part of the issue is you say free, but it's not really free. To have any kind of workshops, unless you're gonna dismiss staff from attending, at the very minimum, you're probably gonna have myself and the clerk attend that meeting. So now you're increasing the workload for staff. I've been here since 6 a.m. I think the clerk's been here since 7:30 a.m. I'll be back at 7:30 in the morning. This is an exceptionally difficult job with lots of night meetings, as you guys know, because you guys attend lots of night meetings. You know, and also I think you're giving the false perception that somehow we're avoiding the workshops, when in reality the problem is we've got 6 people up here who can't agree on schedules. When we do finally get a meeting scheduled, then half the board decide to cancel that at the last second. It's not easy to get this many people together. And then, you know, and I know what you're alluding to, you've sent me an email on this, you've got some friends that you wanna bring in who will, people you've worked with, I don't know what you'd call them, who may be experts in various fields. Now you add in a third-party consultant, which I don't know if we'd have to pay them or not, but now the schedule is being dictated by that third-party consultant, not by you guys, unless, of course, we can find a date that works. And of course, I'm not the one who's been responsible for attempting to find these dates. That's been one of my staff people, and she relates to me that half the board doesn't respond to her emails. How is she supposed to set dates for workshops if nobody responds to her? This isn't staff trying to be difficult. This is a lot of extra work for staff, and the commission is not setting the dates. So if we want to sit here for the next, hour and hash out dates where everybody's available, we can do that. And of course, staff will attempt to make it. I don't know all my scheduled dates, but that's the difficulty. I'm not trying to be difficult, it's a difficult topic.
I think it's a good topic to bring up, and I think that things can be worked out. We're all reasonable people, and I would really like a workshop on the data centers. I would like to hear from experts on that, because we're gonna have to vote on that down the road. Maybe it's not easy with 6 people and the city clerk and city manager trying to get us all together at the same time, but I think there are some issues that are very important, and we do need to be educated on them.
Yes. Ms. McCarthy.
For clarity, so I think somewhere in January, maybe December, we voted on having a workshop, which would be absolutely free of cost, except for having someone there that we, perhaps some city staff. We certainly don't need the fire department and the police department and buildings and parks. And that was just on, let's talk about how we want agendas and minutes to look like. Kind of a dialogue, no voting in workshops. Never came to our calendar. However, we never voted on MML new hire training, which we've all been through at least once. But because someone felt that needed to get on there, there was a scheduled workshop that we did not have a simple majority. 3 other commissions did not approve it. It went onto the calendar with a dedicated date. I did not know that's what I was voting for. I thought I was saying, woohoo, we're finally in February, going to get to hear the agenda in minutes. About a week before, I was told what the topic was, perhaps a different time frame, and that wasn't it, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I threw the flag. I threw the red flag and said, I did not vote for this. I don't think we have a simple majority. I've already been through new hire training for MML. I sat through 3 to 4 hours that I'll never get back. I took copious notes. And this is not what I agreed to have. This hasn't been approved by the city commission. and so it didn't have, I was just one, I don't know who else said what. So that's my point, is I'm bringing it up here because even when we vote to have something, it has not transpired to the calendar. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, I'm just saying, we need education. We need to know about data centers. You say they're my friends, but I can tell you that Commissioner Atwood, through the MML, said something about a housing toolkit. And the person who wrote that housing toolkit that got accolades to the city commission and was promoted and lifted up to us was a lady named Jen Acosta. Never met her. Never met her. Called her though. Said she'd come and talk to us. Said she'd come in and talk to us for free. I had brought her name up here months before the housing tool came to our attention. So I'm just saying, you know, I don't know these people like handshake, go on vacations, personal friends. I am in the commercial real estate industry as my career, so I have access to all kinds of people and all kinds of engineers, contractors, builders, developers. So if I have those contacts and I know what they do, I think it's a source for me to bring it to the city. But I can assure you that these people are not buddies personal friends that eat at my table, share drinks, and we go out and socialize. They're just people I know through the industry.
Commissioner Brady.
Yeah, I have two things. I'm wondering what we're doing. I understand there was a motion. I don't know if there was a second. It was a motion, but then it turned into a description of the motion. I'm just want to keep the order of the day because it's now 9:06. I'm not opposed to the idea of asking for the commission to set regularly scheduled meetings that we could all know about well in advance. I just wish that the way that this was being done was a little bit more like I could see it coming a little bit, you know, like, fine, you want to have meetings. Let's ask to schedule some regular quarterly meetings and not have 45 minutes of discussion about it beyond that.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Respectfully, we have asked for these, and it has not hit the agenda, nor have they been scheduled.
Mr. May, is there a motion on
There is
the
no
floor?
motion.
No, there's no motion, but there is discussion here under the manager's reports, which I think this is germane to the manager. I will acknowledge what I think Ms. McCarthy is trying to do, which is we've seen motions and votes go through. We've seen staff reach out to coordinate meeting dates. We've seen collaboration on certain meeting dates. We've seen all of a sudden surprise topics. You talk about surprise and not seeing something coming. Surprise topics replace topics that we voted on. We have a whole paper trail of emails that happen, and I think what she's doing right now is she's using the city manager's report section to address a city manager issue where there has been direction given all the way back to December. You said January, I think it was December actually. All the way back to December and still hasn't come to fruition 4 months later. Rather, something that someone suggested in an email came to fruition instead, and that's what kind of blindsided, I think, everybody and how that got canceled. I think this is an issue of lack of follow-through and lack of following direction. And I think that Ms. McCarthy is trying to exercise her voice the only way she knows how because all the proper channels were exhausted and still did not produce something.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Brady.
I don't know what I'm doing here right now.
I think.
No, Mr. Mayor, I get to vote yes or no on.
We're not
Mr. Mayor,
voting. There's
I
nothing
get
to
to
vote
vote yes
on.
or no on things. Otherwise, my time right now is just being spent listening to you and Ms. McCarthy, and it's fine. I understand the grievance, but if there's no motion to move anything forward, I'd like to go home, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. And for clarification, I've stayed silent for most of this entire conversation. It's been between the two of you and a little bit of Mr. Womack. So anyhow, I just put my 2 cents in because I see where it's headed.
Mr. Mayor,
We're moving on from here.
is there a way to get this addressed so that it shows up on an upcoming agenda?
I think just like the last item that you brought up, you could,
Ask for a unanimous vote?
yeah, ask for, or at least a simple majority so that Mr. Womack knows how to proceed from here. But you'll have to word that some way.
Is it a motion or just a request for a unanimous vote to move this forward to the next agenda?
This topic.
this topic.
Yeah, everything that you've expressed, all right. Well,
Workshops
Mr.
and-
Womack, is her direction sound, do you remember what her direction was so that I can ask the commission if they're
Yeah, and again, I don't
in
know if I
agreement?
necessarily need the direction. As I say at the beginning of this, the question isn't so much about doing it, it's about getting everybody on the same page. So if you guys want to give direction that we are going to be looking at quarterly meeting dates, again, it's going to be a question of, do we do Monday nights or Thursday nights or whatever? Just staff can, I guess, put something together for your next agenda and just be prepared to discuss it. Quarterly, I'm guessing 4 meetings a year. Okay, so every 3 months you're looking at a date and a time, and then how do you pick which topic? Are you gonna vote on it each time? So again, it's a slightly complex thing, and what happens if you don't get unanimous, or the whole board to attend? Is this just gonna be educational for whoever shows up? There's just a lot of questions.
Right, we can work that out outside of the meeting. As Mr. Brady had pointed out, we need to find a way to move forward from here, but I think just some simple direction would be sufficient for now. I think to answer your question about which topics, I think we start with the one that we've already voted in 4 months ago, and get that scheduled as promptly as possible. And I think Ms. McCarthy, I've seen some emails flying back and forth between you and her on several other workshop ideas, which I'm not sure what has ever come of those. I don't pay too close attention to that, but I was CC'd, so I do know that there are some ideas there, and you guys can continue to work that out outside of the meeting. All right. With that, let's take a voice vote on giving direction to Mr. Womack. Mr. Brady?
Mine can be done after that. I'm okay doing that first, and I'll wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
So all in favor of giving the direction for quarterly workshops and addressing workshops that are already taken action on, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right. Motion carries. Well, it's not even a motion. Mr. Womack, do you have direction?
I believe I do, yes.
Very good. Mr. Brady?
Yeah, I don't know if this is okay to do right now or not, but you mentioned stuff that we had started 4 months ago. I'm just wondering if we can get like a timeline update about the Bodeman discovery phase. I'm not asking for details, I'm not asking to spill tea, just it's been 4 months, we've spent $2,000. Is the end in sight? Do we have anything coming? Is it still gonna require more time? I'm just looking for a little bit of an update.
Yeah, very good. No, that's fair. I think that that's a good question. In this particular section, I think it's no secret what the how I say this, there was a public disclosure that shouldn't have happened. And so we already know what the topic is. So I think to answer your question, is there an end in sight? It sounds like the end is right here near the end of May, based on the conversation that I've heard today on that same topic. Where that's going to come to fruition is during that conversation.
Is that in reference to the attorney or the manager?
I'm not going to answer that one.
I just know that we have a scheduled, we were trying to schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
As plain as I can be in public without going behind closed doors with you.
Okay.
I'm happy to step into the next room after the meeting and have a conversation with you, which has been invited several times, and a phone call and so many other things that I've invited you to. Happy to disclose anything that I can't out here in there.
Is it possible that I can get any work product as early as possible so that I can be prepared for something?
Yes, as soon as I have a work product, the commission will have a work product.
So as of now, we don't have a work product?
No. I've reviewed several things in motion and discussed it over the phone with Bodman, but I do not have anything that's completed in my hands. When I do, you will all receive that. Anything else in this section? It's actually Mr. Womack's section. Mr. Womack?
No, I got nothing.
All right. That brings us to the attorney's report. Mr. Francis.
Mayor, I'm working on a few things, but nothing to present formally to the commission at this time, or nothing ready to present formally to the commission at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Francis. Unfinished business, this brings us to appointments. I don't see any listed here, but I did see some applications inside the packet, which I'm thinking there were a couple openings in there. I don't know if any of the commission had any ideas about what they saw in their packet. Okay, I thought I saw an application in there. That's okay, unless anybody saw something and they want to bring it up. Otherwise, we're moving on to departmental communications, which we received in our packet. Unless there's any questions there, we'll move on to public comments. No questions? All right. That brings us to public comments. At this time, we'll take public comments, and again, I'll remind the public that we have a 3-minute time limit. There's a timer that will be running. When you hear the timer, we ask that you please return to your seat, and as you come up to the podium, please state your name for the record right here.
Hi, my name is Peggy Brodsky, and I live in Lapeer Township. I appreciate everybody's time, and I know it's a long meeting. You guys are giving your time, but don't forget the public has waited all this time too, and we only get 3 minutes, so I get it. But I wanted to talk about something that came to my attention. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did watch the video. While you guys were in closed session, the camera and the sound kept running, and something very concerning happened. I feel it's important to bring up because we all know that these videos are being widely viewed, and Mr. Atwood, you made the comment that people outside of the city, people of big cities are asking you, hey, what's going on? So we know they're being watched, and so I think it's important to bring up what happened. So I saw when you guys went into closed session, Jeff Hogan moved from the front to the back where he sat with 2 members of the public. They were not visible, so I'm not going to use their names. I do recognize their voices though. So he sat with a male and a female, and the discussion came up about his reappointment, and I'm going to paraphrase because I'm going on what I heard and what the transcript said, but it sounded like the male said, the mayor is just being a dick. And I apologize for the sensitive words, but that's how I heard it. And Jeff Hogan said, well, I couldn't have said it better myself. I feel that's very inappropriate because he's here in a professional capacity. So I'm hoping he rethinks that, and maybe he can speak about it. The conversation went on. It seemed like it was a meeting because it's like, okay, now let's talk about the library board. So Chris Van Bell, he is the current chairperson of the Lapeer Library Board, and a comment was made that he made some mistakes on the agenda, which, to be fair to him, he got half of an agenda, one meeting, the 2-sided page, and he only got the first page, so he was ready to call the meeting and there was more on the agenda. But this male said, Chris Van Bell, he's a dumb son of a bitch because he can't follow the agenda. Again, nothing, Jeff Hogan stayed. He didn't reply directly to that, but he did continue to take part in the conversation with this male and female. Chris Van Bell is a very respected member of our community. He's the president of the refuge for 3+ years. Before that, he was the president of Grosse Pointe Board of Realtors. He's the current chairperson for Code of Ethics hearing panel. He was 2020 Realtor of the Year. He sat on the Fair Housing Committee for Michigan Realtors. He is in no way a dumb son of a bitch, and he deserves respect. And he deserves respect from this community, and most explicitly from a person that's here in a professional capacity. That's 3 minutes already? All right. Thank you.
Any others?
I'm Geraldine Carson. I'm from Lapeer Township. And I listened tonight as you talked about what was going to be happening on Genesee Street. and about going down to 3 lanes. I want to make sure that you consider the fact that at the intersection of M21 and 24, when the traffic is lined up with semis and everything, it goes down that hill almost, if not past some days, past the ambulance base. If you do 3 lanes and you're trying to put this walk across, or this walk island, I think that's going to be a big issue, because I've been on Genesee coming up to M21, sitting down there by the ambulance base to try to get in the left-hand turn lane and try to make that, or try to get even to the intersection. And if you cut it down to 3 lanes, I can't see how that's going to happen. And you say you're going to make a left-hand turn lane, thereby also, from what I understand, the ambulance base. How is that going to happen when you've got traffic lined up all the way down the hill? I just want that to be a consideration brought in this matter. I've lived in this county and been part of this city my entire life. And I think there's a lot of people out there that contest to the line up there. Just like I have a really hard time now on M24 going south, coming into town. You're lined up all the way past the hospital to try to get into town, and you're literally stopped. Yes, it slows traffic, okay, but that doesn't make for being able to get around, especially if you have appointments and you're waiting, and that's not counting when there's a train going through. There's 20-30 minute wait, even trying to make that left-hand turn or trying to go down 21 or down 24 at that. I think that is extreme congestion, and I think it's very, very not conducive to what the majority of the people that do business here in the city of Lapeer would want. Because I go through Lapeer a lot, and I do a lot of business here because I'm only a mile out of town. I use 21 to go out to 69. And I just think that the congestion is really bad, and I really would hope that you might consider not doing 3 lanes. Because also when you're coming north on M24 to try to get into Lapeer,
Thank you.
you're lined up past.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Must be getting old. Good evening, Brian Cloutier, resident, City of Lapeer. During this evening, I heard someone say, I think maybe elbow to elbow. I heard someone say maybe nose to nose. I also heard somebody say boatload of money. Did we mean this literally, or did we mean this figuratively? I'm going to assume you meant it figuratively, not literally. So to make an implication that Commissioner Atwood, by saying toe-to-toe, meant that he physically wanted to fight somebody is so far-fetched, I can't even fathom it. And to then go so far as to ask your clerk to make sure that that's in the minutes? Really, people? Really? Really? I've known some of you a long time. Some of you I consider friends. And I say, we're better than that. As a community, we are better than that. I know that you're better than this. As you talk about bringing in professionals to help you with quarterly meetings, I think it's a great idea. If you can actually pull it off, I think it is something you desperately need. I'm going to be kind of sarcastic here, but I'm being serious. You need an industrial psychologist. If you don't know what that is, please look it up. You need one. You need one to come in and help you understand how to communicate with each other. Because we have individuals that are posturing like you wouldn't believe. And I don't think that's, I hope that's not the true intent here. Because I don't feel like the individuals I know outside of this room are the same individuals I'm seeing in this room. And I don't like what I'm seeing in this room. I don't like it. So, please, as you move forward, as a community, understand that these people are your neighbors. They're your neighbors. They live in your community. They do good things in this community too, outside. And I just want to make this statement. Mr. Atwood is the president of the Michigan Municipal League. That might not be a big deal to most of you in this room, but it's a big deal. And he deserves a little more respect as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the back.
Karen Pacheco, still from Metamora. So I wonder if anyone up here has heard of YouTube? Because I come to these meetings and I wonder, and you know, like no one in the history of humanity has ever had so much information at their fingertips. But if we're wondering about the safety of traffic islands, y'all could have sat down for like an hour and looked it up on the internet. Because there are amazing sources like about every weird tiny topic out there. And you could save us all a whole lot of time by coming in more informed, and then you can ask experts about what you read. Is this a good idea? Is it not? But it'll give you a breadth of information. And about how to sit in meetings, how government works. That's how I learned about weak mayors versus strong mayors, right? I went on YouTube, I found a bunch of really good videos on there about it. So I want to address really quick Mayor Hing's comments at the end of the last meeting about why he left Ecuador, because this topic came up and his missionary work and that kind of thing. And he said he urged us to contact the organization he was working for because they would corroborate what had happened. But I find that really odd because the stuff he's alleging kind of is at least unethical, right? But they're gonna like corroborate that was unethical stuff. It was odd. But what I do have are, I had already read this, accounts from the time, from the Hing family newsletter that went out. And I found his accounting of this to be very different from what I had read there. Because he read, there was some conflict involved with them leaving. But it was the conflict with a colleague in missions and not over anyone's wrongdoing and no one was in trouble. So that was March 2019. There were multiple incompatibilities with expectations and ministry philosophy on both sides. After some discussion with the leadership, it was determined these differences could not be reconciled. That just sounds very different than what he presented. And conflict with colleagues, this was what they had sent out in January 2019. Conflict with colleagues, were a bit hurt and confused with recent events. It just sounds very different to me. So I personally would have to do a lot of research to believe any of that. So I rewatched, I was at the candidate forum at D'Angeli, and that is where I first came to know who Mayor Hing was. And he brought up this statement, he made this statement, that the staff here didn't feel supported back then last fall. And I wonder how the staff feels now. Does the staff of this city feel supported when they have to sit through meetings this long and then come into work the next morning and go through all the angst we went through in the last meeting? I also wondered about, this was a couple meetings ago, Mayor Hing brought up friendship with the world is enmity with God. Who's the world? Is the world all the people out here in the city and all the people who come to the city who you are pledged to serve?
Thank you.
Because you pledged to serve the world.
Hands up.
All right. Any other comments?
Hi, Jacob Leroy. Just wanted to comment on the moratorium on the data center issue. I didn't see that on the agenda, but I approve of the moratorium. I approve not having data centers at all. I definitely think the considerations are just, in addition to the considerations Lenny brought up, is just also the noise, especially if they're going to be not connected directly to our electrical grid and maintaining or generating their own power. Those power generators are going to be running 24/7. I understand there's other industrial sites in the city that have 24-hour schedules, but not with multiple generators running all the time. So I'd like to see no data centers in the city. I also have been looking into some of those things, and they don't bring that many jobs once they're constructed and operational. It's more of just managing the data center and the servers that are there, not so much like actively running things. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the back?
Ann Shank, a couple of things. On the issue of the, on Commissioner McCarthy's point, there's a value to getting feedback, and the opportunity for an evaluation is different than business as usual. So it's not only for negative, but it also is for positive feedback and maybe constructive information between both sides for better communication all around, number one. Number two, many years ago, when I was involved differently in a political issue, the point of the disaster plan for the city came up, and the limited routes to get around the town. I wonder if that should be looked at again in view of the proposed changes to M24, M21. Back then, the traffic, and there was concern about the smell of gas and oil, raising concerns with the schools so close. And at that point in time, the only main access was M24. It might not be a bad idea to kind of compile an educated form for people to be aware of alternative routes that now exist. Because of the connection of DeMille and Millville to that area, you now have 2 additional routes to get around town that maybe if more people were aware of those routes, there would be a little bit less congestion on M24, M21, and you can still get to where you want to get to. Number 3, zoning board. Again, I think I'm on month 9. No meeting, no if anything happening. I'm back to, if there's going to be zoning ordinances that have to be reviewed, why wouldn't you want the citizens of the city living here having an input on the zoning board on what's going to happen? And I heard some comments about ordinances in the moratorium. Why not have the zoning board review or do some of the research on that moratorium in reference to what would apply to the zoning board? Or the zoning board could be used for part of that work. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments tonight? Seeing none, we will move to the closing comments of the commissioners. We'll start with Mr. Atwood.
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you. Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I'm going to keep it short because we're already running over. I just want to remind everybody that even if we're not in the room, those videos are on and they're capturing everything you say. And and the recording is on, and actually, you know, they're seeing who you're talking to and what you're saying. So just be aware that when you come in a meeting, the video and the recording is on, because I got caught a couple weeks ago talking about how I'm a cough drop peddler to, as you can see, I bring cough drops for everybody in their favorite flavors, to woo them, the people around me, to woo them, so they like me more. So, silly, I know. But then in the other case where I don't think you said everything that was on the video at that time, you know, if you're going to have breakout conversations, they're going to be captured. I just want people to be aware of that because it was published out on a video. The second thing is this comes up every single time. I have looked at videos, I have done some research, and one of the very first things said to me when I became city commissioner was, you know, we have a weak mayor government. And I just want to give pause there that a weak mayor does not mean that the mayor is actually weak and has actually no input whatsoever. A weak mayor government is where we have a city manager like Mike Womack that does the day-to-day, and he does the staff, he does whatever. A strong mayor is where there is no city manager, he does everything. He is the Mike Womack plus being the mayor. But there are rules, there are things that he is allowed to do, there are powers that are vested in him through the charter, through Robert's rules, etc. It isn't like he's weak, he has no voice, and he should just like be a shadow in the meeting. So I know that's an extreme, but I'm just saying it's measured. And that's it. I'm so glad you're all staying with us tonight. I realize I probably shocked some people pushing things onto the agenda the way I did, but I did it, and I had my reasons, and I apologize for taking up people's time.
Lucky me, okay. Thank you all for staying, and I apologize for this going on so long. I hope I didn't talk too much tonight, and I'll try to keep this one short. I got a phone call early this morning from Congresswoman Lisa McClain. She keeps a tab on all of her district and all of the counties. She has 7 counties in her jurisdiction. And she wanted to thank me and the people who are working on America 250 committee. She said, we are stellar because we're the only ones turning in things and making events and doing certain projects for the city. The other thing I want to remind everybody, Paul Revere's ride was 251 years ago this month. And we should always remember that ride, one by land, two by sea. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brady.
Yes, I agree that we all need to be in control of our tongue, and I think that that's something that most of us could really improve. It's not okay to say one thing and behave contrarily. I would just encourage, when we're thinking about the mayor and his roles and duties, we should go to the charter as a source. We really should. I would also just point out that if you want to study Robert's Rules, Chapter 43 is a pretty good one because it has all the rules for debate. Not to belabor it, but confining remarks to the merits of the pending question, refraining from attacking members' motives, avoiding the use of members' names, and even rules against the chair's participation in debate. Thank you.
Mr. Womack.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
sorry. Ms. Petrie.
I just want to thank the staff again for staying late and for all that you do for us. We appreciate it. And then I'd like to remind those who have opinions about how we're handling things to remember that you only get some of the context. You're not privy to our emails or other interactions unless they're caught on camera. And so my thought is, be really careful when you share your opinion if you don't have all the information. I'll take any kind of, I have thick skin, so I appreciate constructive criticism. But one of the things I was taught is, if you don't have all the information, be really careful what you tell others to do or not do, or listen twice and speak once.
Mr. Womack.
Thank you. So just for my friend Linda over there, April is a very interesting month for history. April 12th is the date which the Confederacy surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse. April 13th is the date of the surrender of Fort Sumter, which started the war. April 14th, Lincoln was shot in the back of the head at Ford's Theater, and then April 15th, he died across the street at 7:22 in the morning.
Thank you. Well, not too bad this evening. A little bit of tension. I want to thank the public for bearing with us and for the staff as well, and the tremendous job that they do. Just on the heels of the pointing to Robert's Rules, Chapter 43, the interesting thing about the Robert's Rules is that it is the bottom line fall-through after we go through our charter and go through our rules and procedures. The rules and procedures in our charter supersede Robert's Rules, and both of those two things above Robert's Rules support that the mayor has a voice in these meetings. Not only that, but the charter indicates that the mayor is also a commissioner, part of the legislative body of this city. So while I don't have a vote except for to break a tie, I still have a vote. That is voting power to break a tie. I am a commissioner. So everything that applies to the commissioner applies to me, and everything that applies to the mayor in that section applies to me. And I've not done anything since I've been in office that has been outside of that purview. So that's that. Referring to the comment made earlier by a member of the public, inconsistency with my last meeting's closing comments in response to a gentleman who got up and made accusations based on gossip and slander. My disclosure, public disclosure in 2019 was very generous while an investigation was happening through the organization that was supporting me and 2 other families that went through the trials that we went through with the inappropriate actions of another entity. However, that gentleman came up and only wanted to know the entity that was causing the problem, didn't want to know the cooperating entity that actually protected us, missionary families. So that speaks to the desire to know the truth isn't really there. It isn't authentic by those members of the public. So while my newsletter was generous and gracious, there is still a reality behind it. And that speaks to my ability to be responsible with information, especially information that should be confidential and shouldn't be intended to destroy rather than to build up. But I will call things out what they are. I'm a truth teller, and I'm not ashamed of it. And that's what I've been doing since I've been here. And that's what I did before, and that's what I'll continue to do. And the fact of the matter is, a threat is a threat, whether it's intended physically or not. I acknowledge that it wasn't a physical threat, but a threat is a threat, and people should live up to their responsibility. If you want to say that someone is an esteemed member of this or a president of that or whatever, then they should act like one, and you shouldn't defend their misbehaviors, no matter how minor or major. Let them have accountability and responsibility. Don't make excuses. Otherwise, we end up in a society that is just unethical, untrustworthy, and broken. We need to hold people accountable. The discussion that happened off camera, on microphone while we were in closed session, I heard it too. I saw it on camera. I know who the people were. In fact, one of them just spoke. More destructive words. And yeah, it's a shame that people want to use their public comment and their freedom of speech to be destructive and join in the dysfunction. There is dysfunction up here, and we need to do better, and we need to fix it, and we need to look for ways to improve it. As for me, I'm taking some courses so that I can try to improve my communication and ability to guide the meeting. I'm trying to exercise some of those learnings. And I hope that the rest of us are too. I think we do. I think every one of us up here want to do better, and it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in a dysfunctional relationship at the moment, but it won't be forever. I think all of us up here want to strive to do better, and we owe better to the public, and we're working on it, and it takes time. But back to the words and the destructive nature of the words that have been coming about in the past couple of meetings. And continue to persist. Aristotle wrote, "Things that are true, things that are just, have a natural tendency to prevail over their opposites, so that if the decisions of judges are not what they ought to be, the defeat must be due to the speakers themselves." See, what Aristotle understood was the natural tendency of mankind, and it fails. Harmful and disingenuous speech crowds out honest speech, not because falsehood is more pervasive on its merits, but because of human moral weakness. Acting viciously is easy. It just is. It requires no discipline. It requires no restraint and no regard for common good. Wrongdoers hide their true intentions behind the language of civic concern, but it's not really. Speakers appeal to good. But speakers appeal to selfish interests rather than their shared ones, and audiences, being human, are more easily moved by what flatters them than by what is simply true. Aristotle named this plainly, and he said the task of virtuous public life is to resist that pull. Unfortunately, the internet, technology, and social media tempts us around every corner to be pulled into it. And to speak truthfully, we should do better. We should reason clearly. We should be truth tellers. We should refuse the easy path of malice dressed as engagement. What we have seen in this chamber is a demonstration of exactly what he described. The intent is not hidden, even when the language tries to conceal it. Contempt dressed as civic engagement is still contempt. Character attacks delivered under the banner of public comment are still attacks. The title of taxpayer does not purify the speech, and it does not conceal what the speech is for. And I'll say it again, threats are still threats, no matter how they're intended. I'll speak to something personal. I'm not unsettled by what has come against me with these comments and the things that come against me in this chamber, even by my companions up here. Those of us who hold faith are not to mourn this kind of opposition. We are told to count it joy when we meet trials of various kinds because the testing of our faith produces something the critics have no power over. We are told to rejoice and be glad. Not to endure it, but to be glad. Because what is aimed at harm accomplishes for the believer exactly the opposite, because God is getting attention every time the critics get up here and speak against prayer, speak against God, speak against our prayer, our faith. He's getting the attention. His purposes are served, and the people mean to diminish. When they mean to diminish me, diminish us, they actually become the instruments of our growth and reward. I have found that to be true, and I am at peace with that. And I will hold no ill will toward anyone in this room. To the residents of Lapeer who are watching, who are engaged, and who are tired of the noise but still show up, I see you. I thank you, and the work continues. And that is it for the night. Meeting adjourned.